Hello and welcome.
Hello.
It's an episode of Otome O'clock.
Meow meow.
Meow meow.
I was not just info dumping about Dragon Age again.
She might have been special interesting all over the place.
I could special interest.
This
for
is, if I'm not mistaken, still geeked out.
Yes.
Which means that like info dumping about your particular thing that you're super excited about is probably what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's why we exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're in the right place.
Welcome, Willow. We saw you in chat. How you doing, girl?
Hi, Willow.
I didn't because chat's not up on the screen and I don't have my phone.
Well, sorry, bud. You
Well,
need to have
that's
for
fine.
Otome O'clock. You need to have.
I know.
Loud noises. So who are we? This show is Otome O'clock.
A geeked out production.
Megan, can you introduce people, the lovely people, to what Otome O'clock is?
So Otome is sort of
Sounds good.
dating simulators, you know. It sort of depends. Like Otome specifically is female led with only male romantic interests. A mare in general, which is what this game sort of rides the line of. It's more towards a mare, because your traditional Otome would be like How to Fool Boyfriend or something, where it's just you put in the right question / like you answer the right question and you get like love points in your traditional Otome game. A game like this, which is a little bit more a mare, is you're going through a plot heavy story and it's more how your character reacts, and there's not typically too many bad endings. Like there's one bad ending, one good ending, and then there's one great ending. Typically.
So it's more choose your own adventure romance novel and less dating sim.
Yeah, yeah, that's typically how a mare more leans.
So depending on the genre, you can have a terrible ending.
Yes.
Like Touch Starved and
Homicipher.
My Sweet Housemate.
My Sweet Housemate, yes. Also Homicipher, which is fully out now. Hopefully we'll play that eventually, but that's more like when we have a day for a long... that Homicipher is a lot.
Would just be more lengthy playthrough.
Yeah, because you have to figure out what they're saying through context clues.
Yikes.
Like you have to, like the way to play the game is you decipher the language, and if you do, and there are romance routes, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's just real difficult if you don't know how to answer context clues.
Yeah. Context heavy game.
Yeah.
So what is this game we're playing, Megan?
This is Made Marion by Velvet Cupcake Games. It is, imagine Arthurian legend and the Robin Hood sort of legend sort of mushed together. Like we're in Avalon, but it's the Robin Hood characters, hence Made Marion. We play as Marion. The route we are doing is we are attempting to smooch Will Scarlet. Because Robin's a bit too much of a fuckboy. But John's chapter is being written. This game comes out route by route. And it's written by like one person. It's just written by Velvet Cupcake Games. And she's got artists who she hires.
And this would be part 4. This is going to be part 4 of our playthrough. If you want to check out our older playthroughs, some of the older VODs will... actually, no. Because Twitch only keeps them for 2 weeks. If you want to check out our previous episodes of playing Made Marion to get the whole story, go to our YouTube page, Geeked Out, look it up, spelled the same. Our link's also in the bio for YouTube. You'll get the full rundown and also all the other titles we've played so far. So this would be episode 11 right now of Otome O'Clock.
Yeah.
Bitches.
Ashlee, you should show them what you got for Christmas.
Oh, and also... Mega-han.
I don't know if our cameras are up yet for the stream.
They are.
They are, yes.
Mega-han made
Meg-
this for me.
Yeah, Megan says. You just Megan's looking at my feed. You can't see it because I have the chat was covering a third of it.
Yeah.
It is geeked out the
because
bracelet.
the mobile app is stupid.
Yeah. Okay, I see
Because
it now.
it should shrink this window down to fit in that space, but it doesn't. It
But,
layers
like, no,
the
I'll
chat
just-
over.
I'll just
It's
cut it
like, No,
off.
we'll just layer the chat over. it.
Willow says, I would have said something this time.
But yeah, we're playing Will. The first 2 episodes of Made Marion that you can find on YouTube are just us going through the demo, and that now we're playing actual Will's chapter.
I can't remember. I think I started it, like, this is episode 4 of our full playthrough.
No, we're only on. I want to say we're on episode 2 because we took a break. We took a holiday break,
Yes.
and now we're back from break.
I don't know where I am.
Well, on the page I can see, you're on the load screen.
I know. I meant mentally. I don't know where I am. Damn. The last time we played was December 3rd?
December
No, it was
17th.
December 17th. We were safe scumming.
Not that one. Not that one. The one next to it.
Oh, that would have been bad.
But yeah, maybe after Made Marion, in February, I'm hoping, because it's my birth month, that we can play The Groom of Gallagher Manor.
Okay.
You're a ghost hunter who's trying to seduce a ghost, so you can prove that ghosts are real.
All right.
It's a real sad. It's a sad game.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, you're seducing
Just in time for Valentine's Day.
You're seducing a dead man.
Oh, is an episode of Otome O'clock and when's
So we
when's
here at Geeked Out
Valentine's
do not
Day?
approve of necrophilia.
It's not necrophilia if there's no body.
Well, then it's not a relationship if there's nobody. There's nobody in it.
There's no corporeal. Well, he can sort of make his form
Okay.
semi-corporeal.
Valentine's Day is on a Friday, so.
Then
okay.
we're back to necrophilia.
Wow. This is the type of content you can expect from Geeked Out. Subscribe today.
So everybody, let's get everybody's. And if you're watching this in the future, let us know on Discord. Do you think that sex with the undead falls under necrophilia because they're, sapient, alleged in some cases, maybe not zombies.
Yeah, like
But
vampires, ghosts.
Vampires. Well, ghosts are not undead; they're just dead.
Well, yeah.
Undead, you need a.
What about a
it's
lich?
Undead is an animated body. Lich, white,
Draugr?
Draugr, zombie,
Yeah.
zombie, ghoul.
Yeah. I think it depends.
But is sex with the undead necrophilia? Basically, if you're Team Edward, you like necrophilia.
Now hold on, I have a question.
Yeah, but if your team, whatever his
Jacob.
your team,
Your team.
your team,
Your.
yeah,
God.
don't even want to say
Wait,
it.
now hold on. I have a question.
Your team bestiality.
No, I have a question.
Adam, why do you always
Why
say
do I
that?
have to
Why
do
do you
it?
always do that?
I have a
Stop letting the
question.
intrusive
So
thoughts
I mean,
win.
that's really what Twilight is. It's a teenage girl's choice between.
And that's enough from Adam's microphone. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much for your input.
Okay, but if they're not shapeshifted at the time, it doesn't count as that sort of a situation. If
Why
they're
are we
just
choosing this hill to die on? Are you?
if they're person shaped and not furry,
I don't think anybody has a hard stance on it. Where this is the debate.
That's the problem. If they have a hard
Adam.
stance. It's very legal.
Oh no!
Adam,
You
have
really went there? And you're talking about me, and you went there?
Oh,
Adam, I
shut
need
the
you to
hell up.
understand that there are people on Tumblr who will fight you about this.
I'm sure there are, but that's not what we're not. And none of us are dying on that hill. We're exploring the hill.
We're
The
taking
hill
a
doesn't
nice
need to
walk
be
around the hill.
explored.
We're
That'll be a different
We got our
episode.
cartography equipment out.
I don't wanna
and
be a
we're-
part of
we're
whatever
measuring the
episode
hill,
that
we're
involves that.
distancing the hill. We're checking the height. We're taking measurements right now.
Okay, but what if they're a naga, or a mermaid?
Those are interesting questions.
Is that half
Or
scaly?
centaur.
There's supposed to be a show in here
centaur,
somewhere.
Minotaur. Right?
Well,
I mean, these are intriguing questions.
Hey, there are monster Otome games, Ashlee.
I know.
And you're gonna get into it at some point.
Yeah,
Sooner or later, you're gonna run out of some shit.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to get on the weird side of Otome.
I mean, yeah, gorgons. I mean,
Yeah.
well, that's.
sunglasses, mirrors.
I mean,
Yeah, but then
listen,
she turns
sex with a
herself to stone,
gorgon.
wouldn't she?
You want to talk about being hard?
Oh my god.
That's what she said.
By the way, for those who don't know what a gorgon is, that's Medusa.
Yes.
That's what Medusa is.
Yes. And depending on the myth, sort of depends on it. There's a couple varieties of the myth.
Alienation products for a reason.
Yes,
Apparently, Willow
sisters.
knows some more forbidden knowledge.
I mean, there's a company called Bad Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in danger.
So let's play a normal game with normal
certainly
people
don't wanna
falling
say-
in love.
I certainly don't want to say I'm familiar
Or
with
not.
Bad Dragon, but I am aware of its existence.
I am being dragged unwillingly through this conversation.
Okay, but we are eventually going to play more Roots of the Good People, and Robin Goodfellow in that game is a shapeshifter.
The Good People is another Otome game, which you can also watch our playthrough of the demo
Yeah, we gotta play
on YouTube.
Yeah, we gotta play more. Well, there are more Roots out, parts of Roots.
There are so many games to play and so little time. If you're developing an Otome game, we'd like to hear about it. Maybe
we
chat
have
with
an
you.
email address.
Yes, otomeoclock@gmail.com.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no apostrophes. I don't think you can put apostrophes in an email address, can you?
Okay, Willow says we don't support Bad Dragon
Okay.
Why
because
do we
they
not?
have something to do with PDFs.
Okay.
I
files.
mean, not a big fan of PDFs, but I mean, a fool in his money, as they say.
Huh? Oh, honey, no. What? I'm not. I think you missed what we were talking about.
Oh, sorry. I think I did.
Yeah. No. So that was an awkward segue. Let's get the fuck out of this conversation and let's get out of here. Yay, whimsical noises. Okay.
Was that the General Lee?
It
Yeah.
was.
When I was
With
in
its
college,
racist horn, yeah.
somebody had a copy of the General. No, what it was a MASH 4077 Jeep, and I think it had.
Nice.
I believe it had the General Lee horn. I don't know what the fuck was going on in my community college.
That's crossing a lot of systems, unless the overall theme was just 70s.
70s TV shows, one being better than the other.
I mean,
Listen,
I don't know where you fall on which one was better, but I mean, the ratings for Dukes of Hazzard were pretty high.
Well, that's because Daisy Duke was in a pair of cutoffs and a tied-up
you
shirt.
know,
And the
listen,
car was cool.
muscle car,
Muscle-
boobs,
Yeah.
and explosions.
two dudes get in
Michael
trouble.
Bay figured it out. Like,
Two
you
dudes
know
get
what I
in
mean?
trouble, running from the cops, and a girl in shorty short shorts.
Yeah,
Shorts.
I do actually prefer MASH 4077.
It was a good show.
All right, are we
was-
gonna play an Otome game? We're just gonna talk about
We're gonna make a MASH 4077 Otome game, and then get
My God.
thermonuked from space,
So yeah, I guess you could play as Hot Lips and then
or
ahead.
just like a random nurse.
who hangs out with Hot Lips and has to be witness to her shenanigans.
No, like we play as a random nurse because Hawkeye did get around that encampment.
Ugh.
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna load this file now, and Megan, am I doing Marion and the narrator?
You're doing Marion and the narrator, and I'm the side characters.
Okay.
I just imagine Megan shipping Radar. That's
Radar was adorable.
see, there
Radar's
it
a
is.
precious
Knew it.
bean.
Knew it.
Radar's a puppy.
Knew it.
My two favorite. Well, I mean,
Jesus Christ,
went-
this is a MASH podcast.
one more
Otome
thing.
O'Clock has been replaced
One
by
more
the MASH
thing before we
podcast.
play the game. I went to school with a kid named Benjamin Franklin Pearson. He was on the rifle team.
Oh, my.
That's hilarious.
and frightening.
Welcome to the Poconos, everybody.
Yeah, back when schools had things like rifle teams.
Yeah.
All right. I hadn't expected my first foray into Nottingham proper to involve crouching in a back alley blind that was disguised as a stack of crates. I had a decent view of the surroundings via various holes cut in the false crates, and my job was to ensure all was clear when Will needed to exit Master Brand's flat. I do not remember anything that has occurred until we're in an alley.
Don't worry. I have less to do with my life, so I remember.
Okay. Can you give us the premise of what's gone on?
We're learning how to be sneaky from
Okay.
Will.
Will had climbed to the nearby rooftops. I watched through a top hole as he tossed a rope to the tanner's open window. The man caught it and tied it to a hook that had been screwed into the top of his window pane. I saw it shake a few times, and then Will came into view. He hung upside down, his legs hitched over the rope, progressing hand over hand as he crossed the alley. I held my breath.
His hands have got to be calloused.
Yeah, they're rough. Time seemed to stand still, but Will didn't falter as he worked his way toward the open window. I exhaled with a deep sigh of relief when he swung into the flat. I hoped he didn't expect me to learn that kind of maneuver. With my partner safely ensconced with Master Bran, I only had to keep an eye on the alley and wait. Await Will's signal. If all was clear, I was to blow a whistle that sounded like a nightingale's call. So I waited. And waited.
She's gonna be blowing something.
Shivered in the nighttime air. Waited some more. By the Fae, lookout duty was dull. I'd been warned that it could take a while for Will to manipulate the clever tiny locks that were used to attach the tracking bracelets to Nottingham's indentured. A while, it turned out, was quite a long time. I heard commotion coming from the other side of the building. I was very tempted to investigate.
Do not. You sit your ass right there.
Our job is to stay the fuck put. As tempting as it was to satiate my curiosity, I knew it was more important to prove to Will that I was a reliable partner. Perhaps if I did my job tonight, he would consider giving me a task more suited to my skills and temperament. I attempted to alleviate my boredom by listening closely to the sounds surrounding me. There was an increasing buzz of noise from the other side of the building, people walking around, men speaking to one another in a low hum, the words indistinguishable. I began fidgeting with something more than boredom. Okay. I didn't like the feeling in the air. It was likely that Will and his charge were in danger. I was becoming tempted to blow the warning sound of my whistle when I saw a white cloth flung over Master Brand's windowsill, my signal. I looked around carefully, although the alley had been quiet the entire time. Uneven footsteps approached around the corner. Dash it! Why would someone finally come this way now? I waited, holding my breath, until a figure appeared at the end of the alley. He was mumbling to himself, and I saw him lift a bottle to his lips as he shuffled by. I exhaled. Only an ordinary drunkard. Still, I waited until I could no longer hear his footsteps before I blew my bird call whistle, signaling safety. Another rope appeared out of the window, dangling to the ground. Will emerged and climbed down in silent swiftness. He nodded to me when his feet touched the ground. I emerged from my hiding place, and we nodded to each other. With a quick tug, he unmoored the rope and sewed it in his pack. Then he was on the move. I followed him as we picked our way through the maze of alleys and back streets. Will Master Bran be well? I whispered to him once we were far from the scene of the crime.
I've removed his tracking bracelet, yes. The Magpie's gang will help him escape town tomorrow.
He looked back at me for a brief moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I must admit that particular task was not one to which I am well suited.
I know, but it was what was needed tonight.
His lack of disapproval was heartening. I understand. I just hope that next time... I was interrupted by Will, who urgently placed a finger to his lips. I went silent and he motioned for me to follow him. We rushed down the block, dashing as lightly as we could. Will stopped me at a corner, and we peered around to see a young woman who had been backed against an alley wall by 3 ruffians.
Toll for crossing Grey Wolf territory is your night's wages. Sod off. I'm supporting my mom and da. I thought you Brambles folk understood that.
I had been told that the Brambles was a popular name of Nottingham's poorest neighborhood.
Brambles take care of Brambles. Yeah, bootlickers can go beg from the nobles you love so much. As though any noble would say a peep to me, let me go.
She was putting on a brave front, but her arms shook. The men who called themselves Grey Wolves had obscenely long knives at their belts, and ones who weren't talking were reaching for the handles. Will bent over and whispered in my ear.
I'll take them. Can you get her out and keep her safe?
Now that was a job more suited to my skills, even if we'd both forgone our usual weapons for daggers tonight. Of course.
Good. Do it how you like. Just don't get underfoot.
I tried not to bristle at his manner. He was giving me a chance to be actively involved. I need to take it. Follow the plan. Because we're supposed to be...
Follow the plan. We gotta follow the plan.
Rescue the woman after Will distracts the muggers.
Yeah. Just give it up. Don't make us get rowdy. You're not gonna like that.
Will charged out at the 3 men, punching them, unarmed. The one who had been speaking grabbed the woman, presumably to use as a hostage against their attacker. She fought, yelling and jabbing backward at him with her elbows. That distracted her captor enough for Will to land a solid jab to his side. His grip loosened and the woman made a run for it. That was my cue. I rushed out to intercept her. I'm with the barefisted madman. Come with me. She nodded and I grasped her hand, leading her around the corner. Punches, kicks, and curses rang from the alley as my charge leaned back against the wall and let out a long, shaky breath. I put her arm around her shoulders and she accepted my embrace, pulling away once her breath returned to normal.
Thank you. I'm Colette.
I'm Marion, and that's Will over there. Beating the fuck out of those guys. She nodded and we both turned to look in the alley where the cowed muggers were yelling at Will.
Who are you? That hurt, you bastard. Just a passing stranger who doesn't enjoy that kind of thuggery. Are you going to clear out or should I make you?
One of the man's companions spat in anger, holding his knife out threateningly.
When it's 3-on-1, you're gonna regret mucking with the Grey Wolf.
Is that after he just finished wiping the floor with
He's
your
gonna
asses?
fucking skin your asses. That's what's gonna happen. Oh? Or are you going to regret attacking a woman under the protection of the rebellion? By the shadows, it's the Scarlet Blade. Didn't recognize it without your blades. Suppose it is. What are you up to, kid? You lot have an agreement with us. That agreement does not extend to overlooking attacks on innocents. Ask your boss. Go on. Go. Rot that.
The muggers converged on Will once more, knives out. I couldn't see his face, but I imagined Will was smiling at the prospect of a proper fight. Colette watched as the emerging fracas, wide-eyed.
Yes, Adam. He really is a Scarlet Blade, isn't he?
That's what people call him, at least the ones who are about to attack him. She turned her head and grinned at me.
Makes sense that he'd have a woman like you. You seem to know what you're about.
I flushed at the compliment. Thank you, but I'm not...
They say he's very gallant with the ladies and is the most vigorous lover. Is it true? I mean, I do imagine he got that endurance, though.
Oh my god. That's stamina, you mean? I gave the woman a crooked smile. It seemed she knew what she was about as well. He's just my partner in the rebellion. He hasn't shown me a great deal of gallantry, and I can't speak to the rest. She shook her head in mock sorrow.
Well, now, that's a waste.
You're welcome to him if you care to make the offer. She chuckled, shaking her head.
I'm working these hours because I'm supporting my mom and dad. I don't need to get mixed up in all of that.
He is really beating the fuck out of those guys.
I mean, how long does it take?
She gestured at the alley fight, which Will had nearly wrapped up.
I mean, Will's just having fun at this point.
I think he's just making pudding. At this
Yeah,
point.
he is.
It's fun to imagine, though.
Was it? I wondered. I hadn't forgotten Will's good looks, and he did have a certain boyish charm to him when he cared to display it. But I was far too annoyed with him to be interested in a dalliance. The 3 muggers ran off after being soundly beaten a second time, and the man in question strolled back toward us.
One moment.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry I had Mountain Dew before this. Thank you, Lady Marion.
No, nobody forced you to.
After addressing me with one of those titles he claimed to detest, he kissed Colette's hand respectfully.
I'm Will of Locksley, and I'm so sorry you ran afoul of those cretins, mistress.
Is he a regular?
It's like, damn.
Colette dipped her head girlishly. I stared. Who was this man, and what had he done with Will? The fact that he hadn't called himself Sir Will of Locksley was my only assurance that it was the same person.
I'm Colette of Nottingham. Thank you both for the rescue. Shall we escort you home? I fear I do not trust those miscreants not to return for revenge. Much obliged, sir.
As Will led the way, Colette raised a brow at me as if to say, he seems rather gallant to me. I shrugged back at her and she flashed me a sly smile. I had a feeling she knew that some gentlemen weren't always gentlemen. Will kept up his unusual chivalry as we walked Colette home. Chivalry. He asked what caused her to need to walk alone in such an hour. That's okay, Vera. I hope you're doing well. Oh, we're hanging in there.
I work as a barmaid, sir. Ma is sick and Dad was a carpenter till his back gave out. No guild to give him a pension, so I support them the best I can.
Does Lord Joffrey not provide in lieu of the guilds?
Ha! We thought to petition him once. Guards wanted more of a bribe than we could muster to let us in.
That's unconscionable.
You see what the man has wrought here, milady?
Milady? Until that moment, I was sure Will had never once miladied me. I gave him a look, but received naught but a smooth smile in return. When we had seen Colette safely to our home and Will checked to ensure we hadn't been followed, his stance dropped and he tugged me by the hand.
Market's nearby. I had to use my blessing a bit to hammer my point home with those cursed wolves. Come on.
So much for charming Will.
Bitch, it's open at this hour?
I gotta start early. Dawn arrived as Will dragged me to the market, where a vendor selling hand pies had just set up for the morning. Will bought a large sack full and plopped down on a bench near the market's outskirts to eat some. I stared at him, still thinking about his odd change of character with Colette. After stuffing himself with 2 pies, he stared back at me.
What?
I couldn't help but wonder about your countenance with the young woman we rescued. I didn't know you had it in you.
Archivert Albert.
Then why aren't you ever like that with me? Am I not a lady?
Colette didn't force me to work with her.
Oh. Are you still on about that? By fairy, you're immature. He snorted.
What are you, 2, 3 years older than me at the most?
Wait, how old are you?
19.
I'm only 20. Perhaps that makes my point for me. If you thought I was older than I am.
Or perhaps you have a stick up your ass that's so thick I mistook it for a few extra years.
I was startled by his rudeness. Nobody had ever dared talk to me like that. But I couldn't respond with indignation without playing into his hand. Perhaps you ought to see to the branches wedged in your own posterior before you worry about mine. I stood looking down at him. He leapt up to face me.
Arthur's ass. You think you're always the smartest person in the room, don't you?
That's because I usually am.
So am I. Maybe you should.
His eyes went wide as he looked at something over my shoulder.
Shit, we need to run.
Quick, grab the pies! I turned as Will stuffed his pies into his pack. 2 guards were staring at us and pointing. We'd been yelling at each other in the open marketplace, and at least one of us was a wanted criminal. Perhaps we weren't the smartest people in the room. At least not today.
They're one of those couples that, like, apart, all the brains. Together, one brain cell, and they're sharing it.
Oh, congratulations to Vera. She got a commission.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Yay! We can cheer for that. We ran.
And we ran.
Oh, don't ever do that again, please. I followed Will as fast as my legs could carry me. As we approached an alleyway, he grabbed my hand to pull me along.
Wait. Oh.
If it's not sensitive material or NDA'd, you got to show us when you're done.
Yes. A robed person ran up to us, sandals slapping against the cobblestones. They were like a stereotypical Nibirian come to life, so much so that I wondered if it was purposeful. They'd even had a brightly colored hair that I'd read about in books.
Hi, Mesa. That's the local fortune teller. No time for that nonsense.
Will muttered and grabbed my hand, forcing me to run with him.
My lord, my lady, you need to...
Will kept running. We passed them as they tried to tell us something that seemed quite important to them.
Wait, please.
They jogged after us, but it was obvious they couldn't keep up.
Can't.
I'm very sorry! I tried to make up for Will's curtness, calling out behind us to the distressed-looking person.
Please. Wait, listen, it's a secret.
They shouted something that I couldn't quite make out, as the sound of guards running after us drowned out their words. I furrowed my brow. The secret? Something simple?
That doesn't make sense.
Will's words were short and spare as he ran, turning his head to see the guards rounding the corner. I couldn't hear what they said between secret and simple.
Worry about it later. Still too slow.
Without warning, he scooped me into his arms.
Whoa.
Hold on tight.
I shrieked and threw my arms around Will in sheer terror as he used his blessing to run faster than anyone should ever run. I held on for dear life as Will twisted and turned through the streets, turning countless corners.
So Twilight?
He stopped abruptly some time later, his breath heaving. Put me down before you collapse. He set me down far more gently than I expected, considering his attitude and condition. As he bent over, panting, I reached into his pack and pulled out the bag of meat pies. I handed him a pie and he slumped down against the wall, chewing urgently. Several pies later, he stood.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We stood, staring at each other. I felt ashamed of my part in our confrontation at the market. We were foolish, weren't we? To my surprise, Will responded with a soft smile.
Suppose we were.
Shall we call a truce? If you can forgive me for being your partner? Will scratched his head.
Yes, there's no point in being at each other's throats, is there?
Well, only if we want to make it the guard's job easier. I held out my hand to shake on it, as if making a pact between gentlemen. Will grinned and complied. His grip was warm and firm.
Oh my.
I cleared my throat, feeling the heat begin to pool beneath my cheeks. We've most certainly lost them. Let's continue at a more reasonable pace.
You know, I do have a question. Do you think his shoes wear out faster when he has to go Neum fast?
One would think.
Unless his shoes are blessed by the Fae. Magic. Ooh.
I've only seen that actually talked about once in any sort of fiction where a vampire who could run at super speeds was like, I keep running through my shoes. He ran.
That's been addressed once or twice in some iterations of The Flash.
Or he just keeps
burns
destroying his
through
clothes.
shoes, yeah. And I think X-Men, the Fox X-Men, I think mentioned something about it with Quicksilver's shoes. And Marvel, I think, alluded to it because didn't he have like a row of shoes in the...
I don't remember. It's been so long.
We made our way back out of town and stopped to rest at the meeting stone. Will checked a hollow tree for messages before sliding down its trunk and resting against it, eyes closed. I lowered myself to the ground as well. Lack of sleep was beginning to blur my senses. I'm sorry you had to carry me back there. He opened his eyes and shrugged.
Never apologize when you bear no fault.
A quote from the Virtues of Guinevere. I felt the need to complete it. For we all have enough to atone for in this life.
Oh God, they're nerds.
Bunch of fucking nerds.
Suppose Aunt Lark did tell me the virtues were required reading for Avalon nobles. Right before she told me not to take them too seriously.
Indeed, I like that part about apologies, but I generally prefer the vices of Galahad.
Oh God, now I have to remember all the knights of the goddamn round table. And there was like 70 of them.
Was it Galahad and the Green Knight?
No, that was Gawain.
Oh yeah, that's right, Gawain.
That is not required reading for proper young nobles. Where did you get a hold of it?
I laughed.
Galahad is the one they always forget about when they want to race swap Lancelot.
No, that's right, because Galahad was the one who was not white, correct?
Oh, he was a Moor? I think he was because I remember in Le Morte d'Arthur, like there was a Moorish knight. Moors was Like ethnic people from like North Africa?
Muslim people from North Africa, I want to
yeah,
say.
like they were all throughout Europe.
Sometimes you also hear of Moorish Spain. That's when... I don't remember what time period. I also don't have any PDFs talking about history from that time period.
We're not exactly that well versed, so you're better off just looking it up. It's Moors. That's how you spell it.
Yes. In one of the Robin Hood movies, there was a Moorish character played by a Black American actor.
Was it one of the serious ones?
I want to say it was it the Kevin Costner's Robin Hood?
I've never seen the Kevin Costner Robin Hood.
I want to say it was.
Sorry. What were we talking about? Which?
In Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, was there a black actor in it playing, I want to say, a Moorish character?
Yes. Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, that's it. Yes.
Yeah, because in that one, Sir Robin of Locksley was coming back from the Crusades.
The Crusades.
We love to mention the Crusades, but we never like to talk about it.
The Crusades were a little fucked up.
A lot fucked up?
Yeah.
By the way, anybody who uses the phrase, well, I guess chivalry is dead, be glad it is.
Be glad it is.
Be glad,
it is.
Look up the whole code before you start running your mouth.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Chivalry isn't just opening doors. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I just can only guess. I'm like, I'm good. Young ladies gift it to their friends in secret. When you receive it, you're meant to copy it and pass the copy to the next girl. There aren't enough angry parents in all of Avalon to make it disappear.
I clearly shouldn't underestimate young ladies.
You should not. He was
It's a burb.
A burb. He was about to retort when a messenger dove burst the trees, flapping madly toward him. It landed on his shoulder and pecked at his neck until he grabbed it and removed the message tied to its leg. I can imagine he just grabbed it, like, stop it!
He's like, this fucking druid. Keep that up, you old bastard, and I really will have roast dove for dinner next time.
You sound like you're talking to a person.
I am.
I stared at him.
Shadows, they didn't tell you. Tuck can possess doves. That's how nobody is able to intercept our messages. He loves taking advantage of the form to torment me.
I see.
I knew that's why he called Marion Dove.
He unfolded the scrap of parchment and swore roundly.
No rest for us this morning. Let's stop by the camp on the way. We're going to need our weapons and a great deal more armor.
Uh-oh.
A Kelpie?
Danger.
I crouched in the bushes while with Will, John, and Roan observing the beautiful monstrosity in the river. It really is a Kelpie. The creature was splashing about in the water. It appeared relatively calm, not that I knew much about a lesser phase mindset.
Pretty, isn't it? We need to send it back to Fairy right away. Does that mean we need to stab the water horse?
Roan seemed more mature and far more serious than usual, staring at the mythical creature that had accidentally wandered out of the
That's
fairy.
a Kelpie. A water horse is something different.
Wandered out of the fairy into the human realm.
Well, I know it's not a water bear. Doesn't seem too dangerous. Will, you dumb bitch. Neither do I, but before I cross over... Well, Kelpies are still worse than I used to be.
Why is that? The fucking round people?
Wildlings like me, we like to play tricks, but there's no malice in it. Kelpies will suffer the most powerful elves to ride them, but anyone else, they like to see you hurt.
Don't Kelpies like to trick people and drown them?
Yes!
It's fun for them.
Yeah, they're sticky.
They're sticky, and then they drown you, and then, I don't know, do they eat you after you drown?
No, they don't.
I think it depends on modern mythology, how they like to go.
Nessie, I guess, would be a good name for a Kelpie. Be cute.
So they're vengeful beings. They like to draw you near, and then when you touch them, you're stuck. They can take you on a ride anywhere they wish. And their wishes aren't very nice at all. It will try to drown us.
Rowan looked surprised, then seemed to remember that humans could not breathe underwater.
Oh, yes, that makes them even worse here.
It's like, oh, that's right. Humans need to breathe. Crazy. That's some crazy work. I decided it was time to get down to business. Let's get down to business to defeat this kelpie before it drowns us all. So we have to kill its body so then its spirit can return to fairy.
We have to murder a horse. I've heard that's how it works, but I've never actually seen a lost fae before. Can't we just... Well, I guess since it's like a phantasmical barrier, we do have to myrtleize the horse. We can't just, like, round it up. Do you know how to best do that, Roan?
Is there like a fairy shepherd dog that we can just have it just corral the kelpie?
Trying to... I can't think of any... Oh, corgis. We need some corgis.
Corgis would do it?
Corgis are herding dogs.
That's adorable. They have tiny little legs.
That's why they're so short, so that when like a cow or a horse kicks out, they kick over their head.
Oh. I guess that tracks.
Things I know for no good reason.
Special interest. That's what she said.
No, we can't be killed in fairy, nor would we think to make someone else not exist.
Megan possesses weaponized autism.
Rowan looked upset, whether by the concept of death or that they couldn't be more helpful. I wasn't sure.
That's all right, my friend. Your help has already been invaluable.
Rowan's usual grin returned. John ruffled their hair.
Will you keep a lookout for us? Tell us if the sheriff's men happen by. Of course!
Rowan trotted off and John turned to Will and me.
Would you two like to take point on this? I'm interested in seeing how you work together. Don't worry, Marion. I will intervene if I think the plan is too dangerous. John, you sweet summer child, you sit your ass down and you let me fight.
I mean, we've only been up for over 24 hours at this point.
That is
it's like 16,
okay,
17 hours.
But he said Marion, and he did not say Will.
Oh.
Should we even bother to propose one? You think everything is too dangerous.
I decided to step in with a suggestion before the brothers could start bickering. Given Will's strengths, I thought there were two possible strategies for taking on the kelpie.
Do we want to be a little sassy? Rely on traps and trickery?
Are we going to be able to out-trick a kelpie?
Well, kelpies, their only trick is look, I'm so pretty, touch me. Oh wait, you're drowning now. So we might be able to trick it?
Alright. We don't know the full extent of its power. Is there some way we could trap it before we run in, swinging our swords about?
What kind of trap would work in the water? Did you pack some giant nets?
Well, actually, if you're not going to be helpful, A chaffinch call ran out over the clearing. I don't know what the fuck a chaffinch is.
I would suppose some sort of finch.
I guess that bird that made a noise just then? Rowan's signal. We went on the alert. I heard the sound of someone approaching moments later. Our hands tightened around our weapons.
I mean you no harm, good folk. I simply wondered if I had heard you mention nets.
Was it a net salesman? It's Adam.
Hello.
A figure emerged from the thick forest undergrowth. It was a man who appeared thoroughly unfit to be wandering through the woods, and yet he carried himself with utter confidence. He stopped in front of us, smiling mildly as though he just met us at a dinner party.
Who are you and what are you doing here? Guy Lalonde, Chevalier.
Fucking nice pronunciation.
Every time he hears, I'm just like, I know how to pronounce one French word, and it's Chevalier.
Chevalier.
I happen to have been visiting with Lord Joffrey when we received reports that...
Oh, that asshole.
He's an adorable asshole.
Sorry. That was wrong, Joffrey.
Oh.
Wrong Joffrey. Received the reports that two dangerous lost fae had appeared in Sherwood Forest. He is leading the expedition against the troll, and I volunteered to investigate the kelpie.
Will narrowed his eyes at the man.
You got voluntold. Go pick the kelp.
Chevalier? Mayhap, but you're also a kingsman. You couldn't lead with that.
The Chevalier's eyes swept over Will.
Oh, Jesus, Mary. Oh, Jesus.
Pax Frey?
Next friend,
Velvet Cupcake Games. I do believe you live in the Canada? I'll speak
la
French.
rébellion est sécurité pour assurer. I don't even know.
Something about...
Okay,
Okay, it's something about the rebellion is safe. I'm picking that up because there's like security and la rebellion.
It was like peace, friend. The rebellion is safe for now.
Yeah, frère I think is friend. I'm not sure about the rest of it because I don't...
La rébellion
I don't speak the
est
French.
sécurité pour assurer. I don't know. I'm gonna stop right here. Stop embarrassing myself. We're being Frenchist. Will blinked several times, staring dumbly. Did he not speak British? By the way, no. Well, and this game does include a glossary, which is super helpful in visual novels. British language is an unholy amalgamation of Spanish, French, and Italian Earth languages. Please do not send Earth language corrections to Marion's editor. Okay. It was different than in the demo, wasn't it? Did they say it was like took cues from French?
I think that's what I said, but I knew French was in there because Chevalier's French, and he has a fleur-de-lis on his belt buckle.
Yes. Yes, he does, Megan. You're very excited about the fleur-de-lis in his belt buckle.
I'm just saying he's Frenchian.
French? He's British. Please don't say Marion's editor. Bless. Will blinked several times. Did he not speak British? Most young Avalon noblemen were required to learn it, and even I had a passing knowledge of the language. He knows who we are, and he says we're safe with him, for now.
Ah, my apologies. I thought you were one of my countrymen by your complexion and attire. I'm half Sinjadi. My brother looks like him, not you.
Will jerked his thumb at John, so he at least understood that Sir Guy had called him brother. So, we were indeed discussing how we might trap the Kelpie in order to have a better chance against it?
Indeed, I happen to have gathered together some ocean fishermen and their nets. It's a shame that they're mouldering away in Nottingham instead of plying their trade. Yes, why hasn't the Crown managed to take care of our little pirate problem?
I love the fucking noble barbs that are happening. Like, this is some sort of fucking tea party. Meanwhile, there's a Kelpie in the background like...
It's just hanging around. It's very confused.
Because the Marines haven't been invented yet. That's who handles our pirates.
Oh.
That's why the Marines were founded, specifically to handle pirates. Which is why that the Marines can be deployed without congressional...
to the core.
Which is why the Marines can be deployed without congressional consent.
I just like everyone else is taking drinks. I'm like, all right, cheers to the core.
I needed a sippy. Oh, I'm afraid that is far beyond my area of expertise. Now, would you like to work with me to dispatch this creature? I'm quite happy to grant you indemnity from arrest in exchange for today.
Sometime later, we met up with Sir Guy and his fishermen downstream from where the Kelpie was frolicking. The men set up several nets in a row across the length of the river, knowing that such a large beast would likely tear through at least some of the netting. The Chevalier sent them away once they were done, not wishing for them to be harmed in the battle. The three of us who remained stared upriver, thinking.
Now, how are we to lure the beast into our nets? You need... Well, I wouldn't say Marion's a virgin, because she's not.
She ain't.
She's not Made Marion. That's why it's not Made Marion. It's just
N-
Marion.
not M-A-I-D, Marion.
'Cause she ain't. Will
Oh, yeah. Marion's gonna be bait.
Will tapped his bottom lip with one finger, then raised a brow at
That's
me.
okay, Will's a master at that.
Oh, here we go.
The tales say Fae are hopelessly attracted to maidens and youngins?
I like to think the Kelpie took one look at Made Marion. I'm like, pah, no.
He looks at the three and like, ain't none of y'all virgins.
I rolled my eyes at him. It would be funny if like Will was still a virgin. It's like, shut up, Kelpie. Ugh. Shall I venture to Nottingham to seek out a virgin? It's not very polite to question folk in that manner. He chuckled.
Don't look at me. That ship has long since sailed.
So I've heard.
Then, wait. So you've heard.
John cleared his throat.
Perhaps we ought to return to the topic at hand?
Silly legends aside, I could try to lure the beast downriver.
And how are you going to do that? And how are you to do that? Made Marion.
You about to catch it back with my hand. I don't care how fast this boy is. Oh no, not another nickname, and certainly not one like that. I wheeled on him. Mayhap I'll gut you and drag you along the river. See if it will follow its bloodlust into the trap. This time he laughed out loud.
Message received, Mayor.
Anyhow, I'm the smallest one here. I can pretend it has surprised me, then scream and run away. If it enjoys causing pain, as Rowan said, perhaps it will chase me down. Willow has a translation for us. Pax brother, the rebellion is safe for now. Thank you, Willow.
Thank you, Willow.
Also, kelpies are sea kangaroos.
Apparently kangaroos are so common in Australia, it's like white-tailed deer to us.
That's hilarious, but the white-tailed deer will come over and fucking jack you up. And mug you.
Beat the shit out of you, and then you're like...
Kelpies are essentially water plants in the shape of a horse.
That's fair. I wonder if kelpies can leave their... How far a kelpie can leave its pond? Body of water. I don't like it. Seems dangerous. Thank you, John.
Oh shit, it's a fucking kelpie, bro. I won't get too close to the water.
Let her do it, brother. I'll stalk alongside her behind the trees in case something goes wrong.
John had been convinced to allow our plan, so we traveled upriver. I waited, hiding behind the trees, for the kelpie to look the other way. When it did, I stepped out and screamed at the top of my lungs, then began running along the banks. I hoped it wasn't smart enough to wonder why I hadn't fled back into the woods. I heard it splashing along behind me. Good. I looked over my shoulder and saw it floating easily along, as though toying with me.
Oh, it has plants in its hair. I like that.
That's really cute. I like it a lot. As soon as my eyes made contact with the beast's red orbs, an odd sensation invaded my mind. I thought I could hear fairy bells, along with a message from the kelpie. It wasn't exactly conveyed in words, more an overwhelming feeling. Come to me, human. Let's play. Let's play. That frightened me, and my legs pumped faster. The kelpie sped up accordingly. The kelpie's a fucking serial killer.
Yeah, it's a kelpie. Better pick up the pace or I'll have to carry you again.
Oh shit. Will's voice interrupted the fey pull on my mind, and despite its provocations, I was glad of it. I just had it keep chasing me until it reached the nets. If it attacked me too soon, Will would be there to support me. I repeated that thought as I ran. I would remain calm. I would keep going. Don't be frightened. Come and stroke my beautiful mane. I only want to play. I felt a powerful emotion pull me toward the creature, but my legs kept moving forward. I was certain I would pounce the moment I stumbled. I felt the spray of water on my back as the beast chased me, staying just close enough to for me to pounce when I flagged. Fear gripped my heart. I fought it down. At last, I drew near the spot where we had cast our nets. Now, how to keep it from spying our trap? An idea struck. Will, catch me! I gathered the last of my energy in a tremendous burst of speed. When I had just passed the pole to which the end of the net was tied, I pretended to trip. I heard a massive splash behind me. The world spun for a moment, then I was caught. My cheek collided with the bony shoulder, but it was far more comfortable than landing on the ground would have been. Lean but muscular arms were thrown around me. I caught my breath and held me for but a moment, then helped me up.
That was a move worthy of me.
I couldn't help but smile. The kelpie bellowed, a sound very unlike the pleasant cajoling it had projected into my mind.
We have it.
My plan had worked. It had lunged at me when I fell and became entangled in the nets. A fisherman scrambled out of the woods and tossed a weighted rope across the river to John. John gathered the net ends together and gave a mighty heave. The massive creature flew out of the water over our heads as though it was weighed no more than a babe. I stared at John in shock, realizing he hadn't an inkling of the extent of its power. The kelpie landed at the forest edge, roaring in rage. Will advanced upon it, swords readied, and I followed him.
Oh, it's Gooby.
We set about the beast with our blades, dodging as it flailed at us through entangling nets. The brackish ichor that spilled from its pierced hide stank of rotted waterweed. It wasn't long before we realized that our attacks were futile. The beast's hide simply pieced itself back together, our assault causing more anger than injury.
I don't know, get some cold forged iron.
We're going to need a different strategy, and fast. Oh, I just read your fucking line. Alright, so we have an ad in about a minute, so read another line and then we'll take a break?
Yeah.
Alright, the big man was hanging on to the net for dear life, trying to keep the Kelpie from dragging itself back into the water.
His blessing holds out only holds out for so long.
I'm not an understanding, but what else could we do? How did one slay such a beast?
Stab in the mouth.
And now we're gonna, well, we have another minute, so we have to guess we keep going. That would have been a great way to pause for a commercial break, but one more line.
It's not time to
Stand aside, if you would.
The Chevalier's gentle request carried a note of undeniable authority. We stepped backward. He advanced straight on, his rapier steady. John jerked on the net to keep the Kelpie from leaping onto him. With a strike nearly as swift as one of Will's, Sir Guy drove his rapier into the Kelpie's left eye. It gave out a piercing squeal. Then it began to disintegrate before our eyes. Turquoise bubbles floated peacefully through the air. Alright, we are going to take a quick break. Rest our fucking throats for 3 minutes, and then we'll be right back.
Yep.
So just relax, get a bev, and we'll see you when the things are done.
And I'll talk about theories about this motherfucker when we get back.
Oh my. Thank you. And we're back. We're back from commercial break.
Okay, so in Made Marion, like when they talked about with Roan last time when we were playing, Roan is a fairy who decided to become human. And sometimes, occasionally, humans decide to become fairy. I think that Guy Lalonde was a fairy who thought that humans were neat, but he was like a high tier fae who thought humans were neat. So that's why he looks humanoid.
Is that your
This is my theory. This is my fan theory that he used to be like high tier fae, and he was like, I think humans are neat. I want to be human.
I just realized he has a boob window.
Yes, that is how that shirt was actually historically worn. They had a little titty window. I'm not even kidding. That's how the titty window, and then there's like a cravat.
Very nice, very demure, very tasteful. Everyone needs a little boob window. Just a little bit. Alright, they just finished killing the shit out of the Kelpie.
Yes.
And then it began to disintegrate before our eyes. Turquoise bubbles floated peacefully through the air.
It returns to its home now.
Alright, since it's break, do we switch?
I'm cool with keeping up with what we were doing.
Gotcha.
Glad of it. How did you know to strike its eye?
The Chevalier gave him one shoulder shrug.
A fortunate guess. Are not the eyes the windows to the soul?
Now I see where your head's coming from.
Sir
Wharton of Rye. I locked eyes with Will. That celebrated poet was had so vibrantly written of the Fae that had been suspected a changeling. We smiled at each other in a way of fellow bookworms.
Fucking nerds.
Oh my god, I didn't realize they'd be nerds together. Sir Guy's sky-tinted eyes turned to me.
My lady, you are stout-hearted and clever, just as I had heard. I am compelled to note that Lord Joffrey would very much appreciate your return to him. However, I personally feel that one should be free to follow one's own ideals.
I love how he is just completely... Will does not even exist. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't even realize you were there. Oh, hello, little boy. I was too weary to realize I hadn't given him my identity. You're a strange kingsman. Had I said that out loud, I flushed, but he chuckled, unoffended.
That I am. Nonetheless, dear rebellion, you should hope not to meet me again, particularly if you insist upon continuing to loot the king's tax shipments.
With that, he called out to his fisherman companions, then put 2 fingers to his lips and whistled. A gorgeous white stallion emerged from the woods. Sir Guy turned toward his mount.
Wait.
Only Will would rudely stall a kingsman, and yet Sir Guy turned and regarded him with no more than mild curiosity.
Lord Joffrey is indenturing more and more people every month. Why do you allow this? My mission is observation, and he is within his rights as your lord. However, should the people fight back against that practice, I am also not obliged to intervene. He's like, I'm just here to watch.
I am just completely neutral in all these matters. He gave us a graceful wave and mounted his horse, riding off without a second glance. Rowan emerged from the underbrush once the sound of the Chevalier's prancing horse had faded away.
I'm glad he helped send the Kelpie home, but that man didn't smell right. See, what am I telling you, Ashlee?
How far ahead have you read, Megan?
I haven't... Oh, no, this is... We
This
don't
is
know
live?
shit about him.
This is live for you?
Yeah, we don't know shit about him.
Shouldn't he have been more interested in arresting us?
Perhaps he is sympathetic to our cause, though of course he cannot say so. You have an impossibly sunny view of humanity. And why should I not? Folk have mostly been good to us. You haven't been here. You've hardly seen how the nobles in Nottingham treat the commoners, and now, 2 lost fae in Sherwood today? How could that possibly happen naturally? I suppose it is unusual. More like unprecedented. I've read the history. I think someone lured them here. Why ever would anyone do that? I don't know. It's the Nottingham Druids. They're helping track indentured people. They're the only ones who could possibly lure Fae out of Fairy. Something is going on. I'm telling you. I know you feel that way, but we need to stick to our mission. Keep rescuing those among the indentured who want our help. Keep learning what you can. The truth will out. I only hope it does, Okoro.
John and Will's conversation seemed important. I wished it was sinking into my head more, but I felt like a bowstring that was about to snap. I set to cleaning my sword, the familiar, repetitive motion soothing my nerves. I just finished when I felt a wave of fatigue pass over me. How long had it been since I'd slept? More than a full day, I realized. I sat on the ground, my back against a tree. The sound of the Kelpie's free river was calming. I had a sense of motion, but I didn't care to open my eyes. I was being held by strong arms and felt safe and warm.
But which pair of strong arms?
It was a very different feeling from when Will had carried me, fleeing headlong through the back alleys of Nottingham. Lovely, but not nearly as exciting.
John? Oh wait, that's your line.
Bitch. John?
You stole one of my lines. Don't worry, you're safe. We're walking home.
I hummed thoughtfully. The day's events swam through my head. I had questions. Will had a nobleman's education, yes? Then why doesn't he speak British? I felt the low rumble of John's chuckle against my ear.
Language is one of the few things he's not naturally good at. He was taught Sinjati and Avalon from the cradle, but for British, I believe he grew frustrated and gave up. That sounds about correct.
I smiled, feeling satisfied with the knowledge that Will had also struggled to acquire a new skill. I would have to refrain from bringing it up during our training sessions. I had more questions, but I realized they were all about my recalcitrant partner. It felt wrong to get all my information from his brother. I'd simply have to be more patient with Will. My exhaustion took over and I drifted to sleep once more. The sound of men laughing and shouting drifted into my ears. My body rocked gently, still cradled in those arms.
I can't believe she slept the entire time.
I heard a door open and the sound of boots on wood instead of dirt. With a sigh, I opened my eyes. We were in my cabin and John was still carrying me.
It seems you survived your first major assignment.
I peeked over John's massive shoulder at his brother, who stood in my doorway. It was a touch longer than I'd expected. Megan. Oh. She's busily dying off screen. Very nice. Very demure.
You did all right. Brother, do you have this? I should get some sleep myself. Now that you're assured that she was merely exhausted and not injured? Of course. If I'm stuck with her, it's the least I can do.
Yeah, okay. His words were rough, but his tone was relieved. He gave me a curt wave and turned around, the door closing behind him. John set me down on my bed.
You'll feel better if you change out of that before you go back to sleep. Set your clothes on the front step and I'll make sure they're taken for cleaning.
I nodded. He gave me a gentle smile.
He nearly insisted on carrying you himself, you know. Probably would have if he hadn't been nearly as tired as you are.
Truly?
My brother is a stubborn fool, but in the end, he takes his responsibility seriously. Don't tell him I told you any of this.
Feylords forbid I learn he might be softening to me. My lips are sealed. He chuckled, then turned toward the door.
Sleep for as long as you need. You're both off duty until you recover.
Thank you, John. He left. I managed to change out of my battle-soiled outfit before falling into another deep and dreamless sleep. I awoke to darkness. Ugh, when is it? My wisp lantern ignited. I felt a softly snoring lump curl at my feet. Even my feline companion didn't care to be awake at this hour. I suppose the night also belongs to me now. I stretched and saw a pile of neatly folded clothing just inside the door. John had fulfilled his promise. I pulled my clothes on and grabbed a spare blanket. It was a warm night, so I might as well enjoy it. When I emerged from the woods onto the practice field, a wave of homesickness washed over me. The stars hung in the sky like jewels, stretched across the horizon as far as I could see. I hadn't seen them clearly like this since I'd left Glastonbury. I sighed softly and looked for a good place to lay my blanket. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. Will sat upon his own blanket, not far from where I was standing, his arms and head resting on his bent knees. He wasn't looking at me, but I was sure he'd marked my presence. May I join you? Or should I?
It's fine.
He gestured that I could sit nearby, so I spread my blanket out next to his. We sat in silence for a while, contemplating the night sky. I tried and failed not to feel lonely. At least in Glastonbury I had had Catherine, Theo, and Elvin. Here I had an unwilling partner and his relatives, who had kidnapped me.
Fun fact, apparently Will's outfit is the most complicated because there's like so many layers to it that are all like assigned to different things.
Do tell.
So like I think the hat layer is attached to a different part of his outfit. And like, I just remember reading a post about it. That like his hat is attached to a different layer of his outfit, so it's hard to...
It's hard to have him in an outfit without his hat.
It was like different
It's a hat fit?
Yes.
Will interrupted my morose thoughts with an unexpected question.
Do you suppose our ancestors are really up in the stars like the Nibirians say?
There was something different about this starlit Will. I prefer our Avalon belief that we return to nature's cycle when we perish. I'm not certain I'd want my great-grandfather judging me from above. He let out his short, amused bark that passed for laughter.
John believes that when we die, we're embraced by Amun and brought into his halls in the sun. So, somebody has to be wrong. Or you could all be right.
I thought about that for a moment. What if nobody's wrong? Perhaps we'll all simply end up where we belong.
I don't belong anywhere.
He spoke just above a whisper. Belatedly, I remembered that he was half Avalon and half Sanjati. I suppressed my instinct to tell him he was wrong. It wouldn't do any good. And who was I to insist upon such a thing? I'd just be feeling lost myself. I think I understand how you feel. Perhaps a bit. He hummed in acknowledgement. Then there was more silence, though it didn't feel uncomfortable. This time, I was the one to break it. Have you always lived in Avalon? He shifted, crossing his legs and leaning back on his hands.
I was born in Sanjata, in a tiny, nowhere fishing village. Da was the village chief. He met my mom when she was on a trade, when he made a trip to Ubja. That's the great city-state in the region. Guess they fell in love even though she barely spoke Sanjati, the idiots. So John...
Is there a history button we can go back? I just ruined the moment. What's this?
No, don't hit that one.
What's this? What's this? There you go.
Guess they fell in love even though she barely spoke Sanjati, the idiot, so John got himself a half-breed little brother. The next one's yours.
He said the word half-breed with a tone of self-deprecation I hadn't expected from him. I didn't like the notion.
I didn't fit in with the other kids, and I didn't really want to. John did his best to help, like he always does. I just kept doing my own thing. I'd snuck out of the village to go swimming in the river one day when I was 8. John got sent to find me. That's why we weren't there when pirates attacked and wiped out our village. That's rough, buddy.
Yeah. He spoke matter-of-factly, but I could hear the guilt and sorrow in his voice. My heart went out to him and John both.
I mean, bestie, if you had been in the village, you'd be dead too.
Yeah, but still survivor's guilt's a thing.
Yeah, we don't know when he got his blessing. We fled to my aunt and uncle here in Avalon. Aunt Lark's been great, Robin's fine, but I'm still different.
I nodded. I knew the feeling of not being where folk expected of me.
I've talked too much. How did you end up engaged to Stoneheart the sheriff?
My father arranged it entirely without my knowledge, before he'd even seen me for the first time in 7 years.
He sounds like a right rotter.
He is. I don't know what happened to him during those 7 years at war, but he was determined to do nothing but do what he thought was best, regardless of my feelings. Perhaps he only loved me as an innocent child, not as a grown woman. I hadn't meant to show Will that much of pain I'd been hiding inside, but he didn't seem to mind.
I understand. I know John loves me, but he still sees me as a boy. He forgets he's my brother, not my father, and he badgers me to live my life the way he thinks I should. Perhaps I'm lucky he hasn't tried to foist an arranged marriage on me, so I'm ready to inherit Locksley if Robin gets his full head chopped off.
I found myself smiling. This felt nice. It looks like we might have a bit more in common than we thought,
Don't think it'll make me go any easier on you in training.
I've seen that sadistic smile before, but for some reason it caused a little jolt of excitement to rush through me. Perhaps it was just that Will seemed so different tonight. I wouldn't dream of it. Do your worst, Scarlet Blade.
He's gonna give you that Scarlet Blade.
Oh!
If that's what you want, Mar, I will gladly provide.
To my surprise, he reached over and tweaked the end of my nose. Was that a genuine smile on his face? I couldn't see clearly in the moonlight. Then his eyes widened as though he had surprised himself, and he coughed awkwardly.
We should probably get some sleep.
Yeah. Good night, Will. I grabbed my blanket and wadded it up in my arms, hurrying back to my cabin. What had that been about? Best to put it out of my mind.
Okay, hear me out. John and Robin just in the bushes like...
They're gonna make babies. John, you're gonna be an uncle. Will, the Scarlet Blade, Chapter 2, Rogue.
Crashly Whiplash. How
What?
much longer until the next ad?
We got 40 minutes, baby.
40 minutes? Oakley dokley.
Are we swapping with each chapter?
Yeah, let's do that. I will be Marion and the narrator this time.
Okay.
Let me just take a sippy first. I thought things might change between us after our Starlight chat, but I was sorely mistaken. Would you care to enlighten me as to why I'm tied to a tree?
We're practicing escaping from ropes and cuffs today. Why else would you be tied to a tree?
I mean, I can think of a few reasons.
He dangled a pair of cuffs before me.
We'll get to these later, if you're very good.
Jesus Christ, Will.
My.
Or perhaps I'll give you the more violent kind of cuff.
You'll have to get out of those ropes first. Magpie says no news on the next tax shipment. That's fine, it's early yet. Just one more question. Why is Milady lurking in the bushes behind us?
Rot it!
She's failing my stealth assignment. Again. You do know I spent years at war and I'm notoriously good at detecting assassins. That's hardly a fair assignment.
Really, Will? He shrugged one shoulder.
If you can defeat the best, you'll be the best. If not, you're still learning. Reasonable, but are you being too hard on her?
It's fine, I want to be the best.
The best it ever was?
Oh, no.
I won. Again.
How am I supposed to beat you at a tree climbing contest when your limbs are so much longer than mine?
Was that a tree pun?
I think it was.
Your brother must be rubbing off on me.
Oh! Ew. I sentenced you to 3 more races. Your feet are smaller. You can find better perches than I can.
I'll concentrate on that. Despite Will's borderline sadistic training techniques, or perhaps because of them, I was improving. He decided to take me on one of his missions so that I could observe him in the field. No one even looked up at us when we entered the tap room of a middling inn in a middling Nottingham neighborhood. And why should they? The place was full to bursting with folk enjoying drink and companionship after the long work day. I adjusted my cap self-consciously as Will guided me through the noisy crowd to a shadowed table in the back. We were here to retrieve some intelligence from a rebellion spy who had infiltrated Lord Joffrey's court. I sat, looking surreptitiously around the room. There was still no obvious attention on us. You're sure nobody here will be looking for me? There are rumors that the Nottingham Guard was indeed quietly searching for a woman. Will had heard from them from the Magpie's own intelligence network.
This crowd isn't friendly to the guard. They know better than to come here without a bloody good reason.
I nodded. The inn's patrons were largely dressed in workday attire, and though it was a diverse group in many ways, there wasn't a noble to be seen here.
There we go.
Will fetched us some drinks. I sipped mine, a mediocre brew, sparingly. I didn't want my senses dulled. After some time pretending to drink in awkward silence, Will shifted.
Here's your lesson. Watch me carefully and see if you can piece together what I've done.
Okay, Ashlee, quick second. Save the game?
This button?
No.
This button?
No.
This one?
No.
This one? This one! I swear to God, Ashlee.
He rose, strolling about the room without apparent purpose. He stopped at a table of Sunjati mercenaries. Word was that several mercenary groups had come to town with the news of increased lost Fae incidents. Was Will speaking Sunjati to them? They laughed and slapped him on the back. A middle-aged woman asked me if she could have the seat Will had vacated. I nodded, and she sat silently, nursing her drink as I watched my partner. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was my girl. I knew it was my girl. A red-headed bard walked to the tiny taproom stage and began the night's entertainment. She was not the finest singer I'd ever heard, but she had a smooth, low alto voice with an undeniable charisma about her.
Is that Bruce Branchelot? Red-headed bard.
Yeah, but she ain't got no paladin training.
Is this like... Well, obviously they commissioned this, right? I don't know. Like, it's an actual song, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You don't usually get that kind of stuff in visual novels. That I've seen, anyway.
The ballad she was performing was a favorite of mine. It was about a magical woman who pulled a trick on the sailors who'd hoped to own her. Her pleasure at regaling us with the tale was obvious. I smiled at the sparkle in her eyes and The puffed up stance she took when singing the lines of the sea captain before his inevitable downfall. Wait, I wasn't supposed to be watching the bard!
Distraction.
I wrenched my eyes off her, locating Will. He joined the group of revelers standing near the stage. He took a coin from his pocket and dropped it into her hat. He then began a slow revolution around the room. I noticed he seemed to be watching the innkeep, who was positioned at the bar near the stairs to the second floor inn rooms. Someone approached the innkeep with an apparent problem. He nodded and shuffled toward the back room. At that moment, Will smoothly glided up the stairs, looking as though he had every right to do so.
All you need is clipboard and confidence. You can get anywhere.
Yep. I frowned. He told me to watch him, and I had, but I wasn't sure what he'd done, save for waiting for the innkeep's attention to be drawn away. You sit your ass right there. Keep an eye on things. It felt a bit hot-headed to follow Will upstairs without reason, so I decided to keep an eye on the tap room. I exchanged a few polite words with my table-mate as I kept one eye on the crowd. Nothing seemed unusual. I assumed Will had gone upstairs to meet the rebellion spy, and I still didn't see any signs that anybody was watching him or me. Girl, there is a person at your table! A fairly well-to-do man approached the innkeep behind the bar. Their conversation seemed animated, so I excused myself from the table and moved closer to them. I pretended to be enraptured by the bard's performance as I listened in on their conversation. The wealthy man was upset about something in his room that the innkeep didn't believe was a major issue. After being complained at for some time, the innkeep heaved a heavy sigh.
I feel that, bro. Fine. I'll get my tools and take a look.
The innkeep was going upstairs. I needed to warn Will if I could. It wouldn't be any good for him to get caught up there. Remembering what Will had taught me, I straightened my spine and ascended the stairway as though I belonged there. It was nerve-wracking keeping a normal pace while worried that the innkeep would return with his tools and see me, but I made it. Oh, this is a nice inn. This isn't middling.
Ooh, this is uppering.
I was presented with an empty hallway, but not for long. As I stood there wondering what to do next, a nearby door opened and Will slipped out of it. He confronted me with his harsh whisper.
I mean, good lord, look at that smooth
What
plaster.
are you doing here?
The innkeep is coming this way.
Shit, backstairs.
I followed him around the corner to see another empty hallway, one with a dead end.
Shit, there aren't any backstairs.
We stared at each other as a heavy footfall sounded on the single staircase around the corner. He might not come this way, but that wasn't a guarantee.
Megan.
I mean, sometimes
You
you just have
think
to
what I
change
think
the
is gonna happen? Oh, yeah.
Presumptive and woo.
presumptive ooh.
Inspiration struck me. I drew closer to Will so I could whisper in his ear.
Yes!
Yes! Let's pretend we're lovers who snuck up here for a tryst. So I was waiting for a moment, but then he smirked at me. He's like, oh.
Not a bad idea. Just remember it was yours, not mine.
Oh my.
Yeah! He's doing the wall. Boom! Doing the wall thing, like, hey.
Oh, he cabadoning us. That's what it's called. It's called a cabadon.
I couldn't remember the name. Thank you for reminding me.
With a gentle one-handed push, he backed me against the wall. He pressed close to me as I was
Whoa.
enveloped by a heady scent,
Whoa!
citrus, and some kind of warm spice. He leaned down and murmured in my ear.
I'm in danger.
Oh my god. All the oohs.
No lips. Too personal. Is this all right? Mary's about to pass out.
A long, slender finger brushed the side of my neck.
Whoa!
Surely I was overestimating the thrills of pleasure I felt in his touch. It was only because it was my weak spot, not because of Will. I did my best to answer him with breezy confidence. Certainly, go ahead.
Failed miserably.
Megan, if dialogue gets really steamy, we have to use we can't be in character. We have to use the dumbest stiltedest ever because I can't do that.
Okay, it's fine. I got you. I'm not going to make us act out porn. I wrapped my arms around him to do my part for the illusion. His head dipped down.
You wrapped your ass around him? What? That escalated quickly.
She got some skills to pay them bills. She ain't no maid, Marion.
And warm lips met the skin at the base of my neck.
Lord sweet Jesus, save me.
I sighed. Shivers traveling down my body. The caress of
That's
his
a
lips
really weird thing for
was
a
a promise
Satanist to
of
say.
pleasure. But never. Apparently, my weak spot was unconvinced of Will's undesirability. He raised his head, one corner of his mouth curling upward in pride.
Sure you can handle this, Mar? If not, we can always run instead.
I'm fine. Is this all right?
We're treading into dangerous waters.
I don't see anything pornographic. Eager for revenge, I slid my hand over his shoulder to tap the bare skin above his clavicle.
Clavicle, you say?
Oh.
It was just at the right height for me.
Scandalous.
Convenient, yes. That's why I chose that particular shot.
Willow is here for this. Go ahead.
He spoke softly, but there was a
Go
challenge in his
on.
tone. I wrapped my arm back around him and pressed my lips to his skin. I'm thinking of what voice to do for this so I don't kill Ashlee.
Oh my.
His citrus skin awakened something strange in me. I'd never been shy
It
about
has to
matters
be
in the
audible.
flesh. But I felt particularly bold.
You know, maybe I should. No, never mind.
I peppered small kisses across his clavicle and ended with a nip where it joined his shoulder.
Maybe we should have Adam read the saucy bits. It might be better. And this has been.
No, because, sweetie, you're. If I start reading these bits, you might have to send Megan home.
Jesus fucking wept.
And this is why we chose to do Otome O'Clock, because these things will happen.
Okay, I read the line. Click next.
I'm scared.
Will went still
All I
under
saw
my
was
ministrations. I
ministrations
heard
and
his sharp
doctors.
intake of breath at my bite. Then I realized that I could no longer hear the innkeep steps moving towards us.
Ah!
Are you okay, Ashlee?
No! You're reading weird things to me, and I don't like it.
I looked up at Will. He wasn't smirking anymore. That's your line. Or no, it's
Your-
my line.
Whose line is it anyway?
Did he stop?
I think.
There's no thinking going on.
I
there.
heard voices. The innkeep and a woman from one of the rooms.
I don't even know what happened.
I think you
Too busy hiding.
You were terrified of the fact I was trying to do like an AI generated voice for the.
It wasn't the fact that your AI voice was happening. It was. All I saw was ministrations, and I'm like, no!
I would have told you if we needed to like scroll quickly. It was a man who asked him to come up here.
Then we're not in the clear quite yet. Oh.
Breathe, Ashlee. We stayed pressed together, stock still, while the woman asked some questions about the next morning's breakfast. As the conversation seemed to be winding down, Will started to pull away from me. What are you?
Sorry.
I can't move just yet.
He's coming again!
That's what she said.
Panicked, I threw an arm around Will's torso and pulled him back against me. The reason he'd back away was immediately apparent. It was...
Also, if I start reading those, it's going to be...
Oh my god!
Also, Ashlee, if you have me read those moments, it's going to get real awkward for Willow.
Back was immediately apparent. It was straining down against the leather of his trousers, jutting into my phone. It was his dagger.
Danger.
It was his dagger.
Oh. It was his dagger? Yo, okay.
So is that your dagger in your pocket, or you just happy?
Oh. Is the
It's-
dagger trying to find its scabbard?
Oh my.
It felt good. I fought back against the heat
What?
that flashed into my skin at the realization and affected an air of superiority.
Oh, thank God this is a mature rated stream.
They didn't even
I'm
say
not seeing a
anyone.
lot of maturity going on here, to be quite honest. You guys are giggling like middle schoolers.
It's all right. It's a natural reaction, and
Giggling.
you're 19
I'm-
after all.
Oh my.
You're 19 after all.
No, 19.
I suppose the venerable age of 20 is mature enough to avoid such a thing.
Well, I don't exactly have a schweenus,
I don't think Marion said that line.
as I lack such an obvious signal. I suppose you'll never know.
Willow agrees, please. I have enough trauma.
Aw, shit, here we go again. Will made a deep humming sound that reverberated through his chest, and his head dipped down once more. I heard a door close. The innkeep's steps came towards us once more. He was too late, however, to prevent Will from taking my earlobe between his teeth and nipping it with consummate skill. Oh, this man has been around the block.
Oh my God.
He's been around both.
Ugh.
He has.
He's running marathons. I'm overheated now.
I'm surprised he hasn't had any children yet. His pull-out game must be immaculate.
I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Ashlee.exe blue screen for a minute there.
It's okay, Ashlee.
It's not okay.
This is so funny to me. I should also... How in fairy did he make that feel so good? I want to make a preference, because I feel like this might have at least some effect on why I'm unaffected and Ashlee isn't. I'm asexual.
Sure.
So this is like, whatever. It's just words. I'm over here like,
It's like, yeah, I've read fan fiction. I know what's happening.
for me, it's not so much the language. Like, oh, my pearls are completely clutched. It's
No,
like
I know. It's me saying it.
Oh, God. It's one thing if I'm reading in the privacy of my own boudoir, but I'm not. You're reading it out loud, and I'm like, ugh, ugh.
Sorry, what
You
was...
obviously have not read enough fan fiction in public, Ashlee.
Girl, you don't even know. We're not going to talk about that.
We're not going to talk about your AO3 account.
I don't have an AO3 account.
Okay, I already said this line.
Okay.
All right, I don't know what Vera's abbreviation is supposed to mean.
What?
Maybe sus. Maybe she had the letters out of order.
Oh, I worked at a smut store and
No, not Willow's. Vera's. USS. I don't know.
might just me. Sus.
I mean,
Ugh,
Is
you're
that- I mean-
triggering my asthma.
so it's. I'm going to go ahead and make some grand and inaccurate assumptions about that. I'm going to guess USS is a reference to sailing ships, and that it means that Marion's wet enough for somebody to set sail.
That is the Will and Marion ship is sailing.
That ship has sailed.
Sail!
Caught off guard and unquestionably aroused, I heard myself produce a sound somewhere between a squeak and a moan.
Oh no.
It just sounds like a frog.
Meh.
Ma!
That was hot.
I felt more than heard Will's victorious chuckle. I feel now
Scared at that space bar. I guess the worst is past.
There's a reason the screen's black, Ashlee. We have the horny turned off.
Oh.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, so, content not found? Is that what we're saying right now?
Yes. Whatever might have happened next was halted by the appearance of the innkeep turning the corner and glaring at us.
Oi! You two! This isn't an inn, not a shadow
Get a room.
lily garden. Get your asses downstairs.
We broke apart and fled past him,
Horrible
giggling
frog.
in feigned awkwardness. Our ruse had worked. But at what cost? I felt hot and cold all over. We paused at the base of the stairs, several patrons looking at us with knowing laughter in their eyes. I took a few deep breaths, composing myself. Girl, you are probably covered in hickeys. My companion seemed a bit flustered himself, but managed to turn his expression flat. He looked at me all business.
Ready to go? I have what I came for.
Yes, I don't think the proprietor wants to see any more of us tonight. He chuckled and offered me an arm. We moved toward the exit together. As I scanned the crowd along the way...
Unfortunately, it wasn't his arm.
As I scanned the crowd across the way, I had the curious sensation that I'd seen someone familiar across the room. Yes, it was probably Alana, the bard. I tried to focus on them, but people were dancing and singing between us. I couldn't spot whoever it might have been. And then it was too late. Will was steering me to the door. We were picking our way through the back streets of Nottingham when Will spoke up.
Well, that was interesting.
My mind was still on the person I'd briefly seen in the tavern. I murmured in reply. Huh?
Despite all your back talk, you didn't seem to mind being close to me.
That got my attention. I smirked at him. This scent you wear is nice. I'm still making my mind up about the rest of you.
Don't bother. I don't shag noblewomen.
That's an odd policy for the man who is second in line to inherit Locksley Holding.
An accident of birth and location. Once I inherit, and one I intend to rectify. Noblewomen have expectations that I don't tend to meet.
You have to admit, most commoners would give their left arm to be born into the nobility.
You think I'm a spoiled child like everyone else does, but that's not the kind of life I want. I was born with the second son of the chief of a tiny fishing village, and everyone knew John would inherit his job. I wasn't meant to be a leader. I like walking in shadow. I'm good at working for the magpie.
That's good, because you're going to be in John's shadow for the rest of your life.
Wah, wah. He shook his head.
I'm good at a lot of things, but people aren't one of them.
I'd never have guessed.
I'm sure you're a social butterfly yourself with that attitude.
I'd needled him enough. In truth, his words had struck a chord with me. People may not be my strong suit either. The things I'm good at are more suited to being a lord than a lady. I'm still wondering what one does when one's abilities and one's birth are mismatched.
Yes, that's the problem, isn't it? Why should we be constrained by the circumstances of our births?
Listen, all that needs to happen is Robin just needs to have a couple bastard children, which I'm sure he's capable of.
He probably already has them. In the pocket.
Now you're getting out of pocket.
He turned and looked at me, a hint of genuine smile on his face. Then, it was gone.
But I'm still not going to shag you.
What part of I'm still making up my mind about the rest of you did you not understand? He let out that familiar short bark of laughter, and then we were silent once more. I snuck several looks at his handsome visage as we traveled back to camp. I had to admit I'd developed an attraction to him, and now it was obvious that it was mutual.
Ah.
Are you okay, Ashlee? Are you
No,
still...
that was just like, it's mutual. I'm like, ah. That's it. That's all.
Is it,
And yet he had just declared himself off limits due to his assumptions about me as a noblewoman. I nearly laughed.
Oh, well. God damn it.
Nor did I wish to shackle Will into a marriage of convenience. I was here now, living as myself without the trappings of nobility. Why would I want to force someone else? Oh wait, hold on. Did he not realize that I had freed myself from the binds of my social class when I agreed to join the rebellion? What nobleman would have me when I'd run from such a promising match? Nor did I wish to shackle Will into a marriage of convenience. I was here now, living as myself without the trappings of nobility. Why would I want to force someone else into a role they didn't desire? It was Will's loss, honestly. After Elvin, I was hesitant to enter another tryst in which my heart wasn't fully engaged. Not that I had even been in love before, at least. I didn't think I had. I certainly wouldn't have felt an affection for a man who declared himself off limits for a silly reason like my social class, which was also his social class, whether he wished it to be or not. I'd simply act as Will's partner and learn all that I could from him. Everything would be fine.
She is fallen hard.
Not as hard as Will!
Will's already at the bottom. He's just not admitted to himself yet.
Will continued training me and taking me along on simple intelligence gathering and rescue missions. I was starting to feel more confident about the new things he was teaching me, and my skill with the sword was improving rapidly. Ashlee, how many minutes until commercial break?
11.
Okay.
Do you want to take a break now?
No, I was just wondering. One day, still in the early summer, we gathered in Robin's cabin for a meeting.
Still no luck bringing the merchants to our side? Nay, it's likely leashing a cat, said he. Stubborn rotters, a lot of them. It's as though they aren't being indentured it's as though they aren't being indentured left and right. I don't understand them. Aye, how is that investigating going, you two? We've had a few requests for rescue from indentureship. The guards have been cracking down and people are scared. I think we need to go at it from another direction. Look into the druids. Why are they cooperating? Layton has warned us to stay away from the druids. And you're still just going to trust that rotter over there? Over me? Nobody is saying that, brother. We simply need to step carefully. Angering the druids could send our entire operation crashing down.
I think it's worth looking into, though. I work closely with Gladstoneberry's druids, and from what I've seen, there's something odd going on here in Nottingham. It feels like the leaders of the druidic temples are keeping themselves unusually aloof from the public. Robin nodded at me. It felt good to be able to contribute something worthwhile.
We'll take that under advisement, but for now, we'll keep going with our main strategy. You mean you'll sweep it all under the rug like always?
He sighed, but after a short pause, he seemed to collect himself.
If you're insisting on the usual plan, I have the intel.
What's the usual plan?
Ah, apologies, milady. While we continue building our alliances, we're doing our part to relieve the suffering caused by Prince John's excessive tax burden. We'll take back a share of the monthly tax shipment and use the funds to supply the poorest folk with the things they need.
Will took a map from one of his pouches and spread it out on the table.
Sheriff expects us to attack the convoy and has hired far too many guards, so this time we're striking before it sets out. You know our trip to the inn? Our spy told us where the cards would be stored. And the Magpie's folks spied out the details. It seems they built a small fortress in the town walls near Nottingham Hold.
Will's eyes locked on mine, his usual challenging grin on full display.
So, Mar, you ready to put your lessons to use?
Of course. Several nights later, we stood at the base of the small fort in which the loaded tax carriages had been stored. We awaited our signal, which would be the commotion when Robin launched a frontal assault on the fortress. It was a feint to draw the attention of the guards inside. Our task was to sneak into the fortress, scout it out, and lower the rear drawbridge when it was safe to do so. At that point, John, who was waiting with his squad in the forest, would cross the drawbridge and make use of his blessing to carry away one of the tax carts. We would assist his squad in covering his retreat.
Just pick up the whole ass cart.
It wasn't long before we heard the sounds of arrows flying and men shouting. Will nodded to me and climbed up the wall. He looked like a lizard, finding holes that I certainly could not see in the dim moonlight. I was envious. When he reached the top, he lowered a rope that he'd secured. There must not have been any guards watching the shadowed back corner of the fort. I grabbed the rope and climbed up as swiftly as I could. We'd been practicing this regularly since the mission was planned, and I was proud of my speed. With arms that were only slightly sore, I clambered onto the rampart. The fort was very simply designed. It was just 4 walls thick enough to host small rooms within them, and a courtyard full of carts and supplies in the middle. Are we climbing down into the courtyard? Will rolled his eyes at me.
No, we're taking the stairs like normal people.
He took me toward the nearby guardhouse where an undefended staircase awaited.
Thimblebrain guard, you think somebody would have taught them to not all rush toward the obvious disturbance?
It's good for us, though.
Mm-hmm.
We emerged into the courtyard, ducking behind a pile of crates. The carts were neatly lined up, ready to be hitched to horses and pulled along the great road that led through Sherwood Forest toward the capital of London. The area was strangely empty. Had Robin drawn most of the guard out of the fort entirely? Will whispered in my ear.
2 cars and easy reach of the drawbridge. Good.
We're only taking 1, right?
Aye, we're making a statement, not lining our pockets.
Just as Will started to move into the open, a guard appeared walking between the lines of carts. It seemed there was at least one man who wasn't thimble-brained.
We're gonna have to take care of him.
I nodded. Anyone patrolling the carts would be able to summon assistance before we could pull off the heist.
You distract him.
Oh.
I'll knock him out from behind, unless you want to do it the other way around.
Ooh, let's knock out the guard.
Yeah, why does it make sense that Will wants to take him from behind?
I'll knock him out.
You sure you're ready for that?
You taught me well. I pulled out a dagger from its sheath and demonstrated swinging the pommel at the back of an enemy's skull.
All right, go ahead. I think I know this bastard.
Will strolled out from behind the crates and leaned against the fortress's outer wall, arms crossed as usual. The guard spotted him and pulled his sword, approaching warily. When he got close to Will, however, he relaxed a bit.
Well, if it isn't the Scarlet Blade, here to plunder our tax shipments once more? Hey, Morris. I thought you'd care in the least. It's Sir Morris, you rotter, and I care if it affects my reputation or standing. You know that. Shall I call out for reinforcements?
As I spoke, I began to sneak around the stack of crates. I would have to be out in the open for a moment in order to get behind Sir Morris, so I'd need to time that moment carefully.
As you haven't yet called out, I assume you have a possible negotiation in mind. Come out with it. Land. If you're rebelling to usurp the sheriff, I want a nice piece of land and the restoration of my family name.
Will laughed sharply, and I chose that moment to slip out from behind the crates and hide in the shadow of a cart, just behind the guard.
I knew you were a cowardly rouser, but I didn't realize you were a thimblebrain as well. How am I meant to promise that? I'm nothing but a cast-off cousin. You think me a nodcock? I know you're standing, second in line to Locksley holding. If no, when Sir Robin gets himself gutted, or made Lord Nottingham, it'll be one or the other, so what can you promise me?
I peered out from behind the carriage. Sir Morris was worked up, paying little attention to his surroundings as he responded to Will's insults. I had to admit, my partner was exceedingly good at getting under one's skin.
Tonight, I can promise not to gut you where you stand. You know what I can do. Or do you care to cry out for help and chance it? Why you? Thunk.
I stepped out from behind the cart while the man proceeded to give Will a piece of his mind. I assumed that only the fear of being stabbed was keeping him from calling out, and I doubted I had much more time. I was wearing soft-soled leather boots that made little sound on the fort's stone floor, and Sir Morris was incensed enough not to notice me. I was glad he wasn't terribly tall. Just as I had practiced, I raised my dagger, pommel first, and slammed it against the guard's skull. He let out a pain grunt, and then Will was behind him, choking him with one arm, his eyes bugged out as he struggled. Moments later, his eyes closed, and he went limp. Will carried him behind the crates and laid him on the ground.
Not bad. You're becoming more reliable.
The glow I felt from his rare compliment was far warmer than it ought to have been. Drat it all! Oblivious to my thoughts, Will bent down and relieved the unconscious Morris of his belt pouches. Then he stood and nodded to me.
Let's go.
He fucking robbed the guy.
He did. All right. You want to take our break now?
Yeah.
Okay. We are going to take a quick break, rest our voices a bit, and we will be right back.
There was a TikTok I wanted to show Ashlee, but of course it's one of those things you see it once on Tumblr and you'll never see it again.
Yeah. Once you swipe, you're never going to see it again.
I would like you to know it took place at a lesbian bar in China. Involved, what's it called? Is it called a Russian split?
Like a suicide drop?
Yeah. That, but against a wall.
As a kabadon?
As a kabadon.
I've seen that meme so many times in, like, anime.
I have to go through my Tumblr likes to see if I can find it. It was the most elegant kabadon.
That's hilarious.
A few moments later, I was atop our target cart. Someone had tied ropes with bells dangling from them to the top of each cart. It was a clever way to warn of thieves. I'd always been good with knots. Thanks to the extra practice I'd been doing, I was able to untie them quickly. I held the rope ends in each hand and looked over at Will, who stood next to the drawbridge winch. We nodded at each other, and he began turning the winch at a speed beyond what most folk could manage. We had to be quick, for it made a great deal of noise, and the guard would most certainly return when they heard it. The drawbridge fell in place with a mighty crash, and I saw John running across it. That was my cue to leap down from the cart, ropes in hand. It didn't matter if we made noise now. The guard had surely been alerted already. I landed nimbly, bells jingling, and rolled over my shoulder to keep from jarring my bones.
Damn, John. He never skips anything day.
No, I stood to see John lift the cart over his head and trot back toward the drawbridge. I joined Will in front of the drawbridge, ready to cover John's flight. I thought he'd just have pulled the cart.
He could hardly show off that way, could he? Steady on.
The sound of the portcullis opening echoed through the fort. We stood at the ready, though we had no intention of fighting the guard. We'd need to be clever. Hello, handsome evil villain man. 3 guards on horseback raced towards us. The lead guard, a large and ornery-looking fellow, was obviously in charge. Distract the other 2. I knew Will would have the leader covered, so I decided to concentrate on the 2 men following him. Could I spook their horses? Yes! Jangle the bells! I ran over to the discarded bell ropes. I watched as Will pulled the lead guard off his horse, which caused the 2 falling horses to stop short. The rider struggled to get them under control. I took the end of one of the bell ropes and shook it with all my might. The clanging cacophony echoed through the fort. The horses did not like that one bit and tried to buck their rider.
So much for being well-trained war horses.
Yeah. I dropped the rope and ran back to Will, who was standing over the unconscious lead guard. He grinned at me in approval.
Good idea. Very effective.
We looked toward the woods in the direction John had run. We could no longer see him.
Let's go.
Will grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the drawbridge, letting go when he was sure I was behind him. I heard the sound of marching guards at our backs and ran faster. Kroga and Mercator appeared from the woods, awaiting us at the end of the drawbridge. We mounted them. One of John's squad members trotted up to us.
Go guard your brother. We'll lead those gents on a chase. Where's Robin? Haven't seen him yet, but I'm sure he'll circle around behind him.
We nodded and took off down the forest road after John. Our theft had been successful. Do not say that until you have all your people back at base.
It was the CEO
And all their
outside. He
people were
got
back at base.
distracted.
Oh no.
The next afternoon, I knocked on the door of Will's cabin for the first time. The tree he inhabited was a 2-story affair. He lived on the top while John's cabin was below. I was amused by the fact that despite his regular vocal complaints about his older brother, Will had chosen to live in the same tree. Siblings were fascinating.
Come in, quickly.
I slipped through the door. Will's cabin was homier than I had expected, decorated liberally with his own wood carvings. There were plenty of books to be found as well, naturally.
Oh, that's cute. Love a boy with hobbies, and he's good with his hands.
Ayo. He was seated at the table with a book and an odd carved stone in front of him. He beckoned me over urgently.
Oddly, that actually explains a few things.
I sat. An unfamiliar look crossed Will's face. Excitement?
I think I have it. My first real lead.
Lead?
On the secret behind the indentured servitude program. I told you I couldn't understand why the druids were cooperating, right?
I nodded.
Got these from Morris's pockets. His notebook and this stone.
Will flipped a couple pages of the notebook and looked at me in demonstration. I noticed that all the pages before the ones he was examining had been torn out.
He's a cautious fellow. Has to be, since he's corrupt as all get out. Ultimately, just a toady for whoever will pay him or help him gain more standing, though. He lucked into this find.
Will shoved the notebook at me and I looked at the entry. It was dated for yesterday, which was likely why he hadn't torn it out yet. I read it aloud. Dead druid in Sherwood. Beast attack. Lost Fae. Strange carved stone on him. Key. Don't want to keep it longer than necessary. Don't trust those rotters. Who to approach. That note was followed by a list of possible names and advantages he might gain by trading in the stone.
Do you see? Morris is a rouser, but he's not stupid. He thinks there's something going on with the druids, too.
I looked at the stone on the table. It had an intricate raised knotwork design on it. It was the sort of thing one could use as an elaborate key. So you want to find out what the stone unlocks?
I think it's wherever they're storing the blood samples that they use to track everyone who's indentured. They always take blood, but Magpie's folk have never been able to find where they keep the samples. It's an overreach of the druidic code for certain. They couldn't do it without Lord Joffrey's request, but why did they agree?
He looked at me, his fingers drumming rapidly on the table. He blinked a few times and took a deep breath and spoke.
I think this is an experiment. They're not just helping Lord Joffrey punish tax evaders. They're learning how to chain all of us, to track us. And what's worse, we have a druid who has wormed his way into this very camp.
Okay, not every druid's a dick. You suspect Leighton to be part of a grand druidic plot to steal our liberty? Why would they do that? I tried not to sound incredulous, but it was a lot to take in.
Why do tyrants do anything? Why do pirates firebomb a fishing village? Why does the sheriff indenture people who can't pay their taxes? All I know is that some people will do anything to control others, for wealth or for power. I hate it. I'll do anything I can to stop them.
Will's normally enscontant?
Enscotiant?
Look had been replaced with
I don't know, man.
Had been replaced with a fiery passion. I felt a strange tingling feeling, like a fresh breeze blowing through me. This was the true Will when he wasn't shackled by cynicism and resentment.
The Magpie understands why we have to fight back. Do you?
I thought of my father and his attempts to bend me to his will. I do, but this kind of conspiracy strains the bounds of reason.
I know, but it's not just me. The Magpie is suspicious too.
Well, that's great for the Magpie. A memory popped up popped into my head, and it came with a rush of urgency. The secret, unintelligible, simple.
Oh, that was me. I'm so sorry.
That fortune teller in Nottingham, they said something about a secret and possibly that it was simple. Or wasn't simple? I wish I'd heard what all they said. Will grabbed my hands.
So you'll help?
Can we go to Mesa to ask them? I'd like to go to Mesa to ask them. I admit I'm awfully curious to see if this is a key, and if it is, what it unlocks.
A key? What key?
The door opened and John walked in, ducking to fit through the entryway. Will's hands flew back to his sides.
It's none of your concern.
The stone was no longer on the table.
It is entirely my concern. Will?
Will sighed.
Fine. I found this on a guard we knocked out last night.
He held out the stone for his brother to inspect.
We need to show this to Leighton. That's why I didn't want to show it to you, Okoro. Please, I don't think we can trust him. He saved Robin. He keeps us hidden. His doves and wolves have rescued us from capture many times. I know you don't like him, and I know he isn't kind to you. I'm sorry that he's not. But he says we should bring all druidic things to him for our own safety. I don't know if we should trust him, but we must.
I gave Will what I hoped he would see as a supportive look. He sighed again.
Fine, let's go. But I'm doing this under protest.
The three of us marched through the valley towards the isolated cabin Leighton called home.
I hear you attacked a mounted man last night. What have I told you about making such dangerous choices? We saved your sorry hide from being
Mounted
run
by
down.
who?
We saved your sorry hide from being run down by 3 men on horses, and that's what you have to say?
I had to agree with Will. I knew John only spoke up out of worry, but did he have to be so overbearing about it? John ignored his brother and turned to me.
I'm glad you found a less direct way to make a difference, Marion.
I was not about to allow him to place me by his side against Will. I knew Will could handle the leader, so I supported him as best I could.
It was clever of her. She's shaping up to be a decent partner, despite you lot.
I couldn't help but smile. It wasn't a bad feeling, being more in accord with Will.
Perhaps she'll inspire you to make more clever choices. I know you're capable of it. Ah, but that wouldn't be any fun now, would it?
I'm learning that Will doesn't take on things he can't handle. Perhaps you could put more trust in him? John merely frowned. We walked onward. Okay, but in John's defense, his family died and all he has left is his
precious baby brother.
He does not want his little, if our entire family died and I was all you had left, you would lock me in a tower like I was fucking
It's like,
Rapunzel.
you're living with me now.
John merely
The
frowned.
end.
John merely frowned. We walked onward. Hello, fuckboy. When we arrived at Leighton's cabin, he was awaiting us on the front step.
Such illustrious company for an afternoon. How may I help you?
Thank you, O Dionysus of Avalon. Will stepped forward and thrust the stone at Leighton.
Oh, my.
Found this on a guard last night. He got it off a dead druid. You know what it is?
Leighton looked at the stone as though it might bite him.
By the Fae, don't carry it like it's some noblewoman's bauble. Put it down over there.
He's like, ooh, put it on the ground. Ugh.
Oh, God.
Will placed the stone on a tree stump table near the side of Leighton's cabin. Leighton took out his dagger and pressed the flat of the blade against the stone.
No.
The man nearly growled, his eyes turning their magical wolf yellow. He grabbed the stone and rushed into his cabin with it. Uh-oh.
That's some fuckery. I knew he was going to take it away. He's truly distressed, Will. That thing must be dangerous. To us or to him?
John never answered, for Leighton reappeared empty-handed.
Thank you for bringing that to me. I will take care of it. I don't suppose you're going to tell us what it is. I believe it's a key of some sort. It's better if you know nothing about it, lad.
$50 says
It's a jade egg.
it's probably a key to fairy, and he's like, ha! Ha!
You're gross, Adam. And what if I don't trust that ignorance is in my best interest? I'm afraid you don't have a choice, little thief. Best to stick to your ordinary back alley skulking. It'll keep your head attached to your shoulders. You can't stop me from looking further into this. I can't. It's your choice. But if you have any care for your life, or that of your lovely little partner there, hey, Tav, leave this mystery to me. Fight the sheriff. Win better leadership for Nottingham. I will handle the druids.
And you won't tell us anything more, will you?
I will not. Good evening, friends.
Yeah, it's probably a key to fairy, and he's like, ha! Ha! Ha.
Smash it! Bah!
So he's like, oh, no. No. Leighton executed a mocking bow and returned to his cabin, the door slamming shut behind him.
Someday I'm going to... Peace, brother. He is right. We have enough trouble without you courting more. I will not put the future of Nottingham's people in the hands of that bastard.
Will stomped off angrily. John sighed.
Marion.
Yeah?
I came to Will's cabin to ask if you two could make a delivery to the Brambles tomorrow. We need to clear some space for new supplies after last night's take. Can you tell him that for me?
Of course. I waved to the large man and trotted after Will. To my surprise, Will let me back into his cabin without complaint. I sat at his table as he rummaged around in an intricately carved chest at the foot of his bed. I wondered if he made it himself.
I was half expecting her to walk in, and he has like this giant parchment on the wall with like red thread attached. Everyone's like, it's all connected. It's all connected.
Either that, or it was
It's all.
a really shittily painted picture of Leighton that he would like throw daggers at.
Yeah.
John wants to know if we can make a delivery to the Brambles tomorrow.
Of course.
He rummaged a bit more, then turned his head in my direction.
So, Mar, what do you think about what happened there with the Stenish bastard?
He seemed unusually serious, but I couldn't tell you whether we should trust him.
I'm still investigating the druids. I won't make you join me. It might be better if you don't.
We're partners. I'm not missing out. And now my curiosity is piqued. Please be careful, you dumb fucks.
We'll have to keep it quiet. You can't tell anyone.
My lips are sealed. He grinned and pulled a piece of parchment from the chest. When he spread it out on the table, I nearly laughed. You made a rubbing of the carving on that rock.
Oh, you fucking idiot. I had a feeling I should. I'm going to try and recreate it in oak. That should be solid enough to use as a key, though if there's magic involved...
Why are they so stupid?
When the fucking aloof man who's always drunk suddenly gets very fucking serious and is like, where did you get that? Where did you get that? Give me that right now. You should be afraid.
You should be very afraid.
When the scary witch man is like, oh my god. I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely right. I know nothing about anything. I am a fucking moron and I'm gonna fuck off over here. Right far away from the rock.
I didn't get worried. I got disgusted, which is why I said what I said. But
It's like, ugh, put it down. Ugh.
Oh, do you have any idea what that's been?
Well, it's a key to something, all right.
Oh my.
God.
He tapped his fingers on the table.
At least we have a copy of the design, so we can recognize it if we see it.
Agreed. Let me study it for a spell.
No, thanks. Well, of course. Tomorrow we'll visit the Brambles, and then I have a mind to pay a visit to the Temple of Light.
Who are you gonna fuck at the temple? He looked at me for a moment.
Suppose you're not so bad after all.
Not so bad. Shall I aim for marginally acceptable next? That bark of a laugh rang out once more.
Don't push it.
I gotta say, when he was like, I'm gonna try to carve this out of oak,
That is a recipe for doom.
just go to Mesa and talk to them. For fuck's sake.
Thank you kindly, good sir, my lady.
The Brambles elder bowed to us after we distributed the last of the cloth and blankets we'd brought.
Just call me Will, please. We're happy to help. I know if you folk had more work, none of this would be needed.
Self-voicing enabled. Self-voicing disabled.
I keep forgetting V is self-voicing.
I could tell that sentiment pleased the old man, whose knotted hands and weather-beaten skin spoke of a lifetime of outdoor labor.
Maybe we should have the self-voicing do the sexy lines.
Yes! Yes!
Self-voicing enabled. Len, I. Self-voicing disabled.
Hi, we're acting to get back to work. I worry about with the youngins. Too much wasted energy on too much anger.
Oh, like Will.
They're welcome to join us if they wish. We have food, shelter, and plenty of work to be done. Much as I hate to say it, we need the likes of the Grey Wolves here to keep the guard at bay. We might be poor, but the Brambles is the freest place in Nottingham. That it is. There's something to be said for making sure you're not worth the sheriff's time.
Len laughed and took his leave. Will turned and gave his squad instructions for returning the carts we'd used to transport the goods. He turned to me, bright-eyed and cheerful. I'd never seen a nobleman look so at ease with common folk. I may have had strong relations with Glastonbury's peasantry, but we'd never treated each other as friends. A revelatory feeling washed over me. I knew I'd possibly lost my noble status, but I hadn't thought about what it meant in terms of the big picture of my life. My birth would always afford me a certain amount of privilege in society. Could breaking down the barriers between the classes lead to a better life for everyone? I'd always held fast to the notion that we nobles had a responsibility to protect and nurture the peasantry, and in return they owed us their obedience?
Abeyance? That's like the noun version of obedience?
Okay.
Or verb? I don't fucking know, bro.
Could we trust them with more freedom? And who was I to seek to bind them to society's rules when I myself sought that freedom?
You know, I have a degree in English. Be fucked if I understand the parts that make it go boo. English go burr.
Will cocked a brow at me.
Got some intel to pick up on the way
did
back.
what?
You coming?
I shook myself from my thoughts and nodded in agreement. We were walking through one of the back streets leading out of the brambles when Will threw his arm out in front of me.
Oh, this is like around me. Like, ugh.
Rotten ruin.
Will, you have two voices.
A gang of rough-looking young men flitted into the alley from around the corners in front of us. I turned and pressed my back against Will's. They were crowding behind us as well. Of course.
Like a good ambush, but this is ridiculous. Up against the wall.
Like a good ambush, State Farm is there.
In tandem, we stepped to the nearest wall, placing our backs against it so we were less vulnerable. We stood side by side, our weapons ready. The ragged mob assembled on all sides of us, hostile but not yet attacking. They had the same wolf emblem sewn on their shirts as the ruffians Will had defeated that night several weeks ago, the Grey Wolves. A rough young man with an air of authority stepped out in front of Will.
Oi, Scarlet Blade. A pity to greet you like this. Hugh, what's the meaning of this? We have an agreement. Aye, that was the fur you went and mucked with me lads. We agreed to let you help the Brambles folk, not to let you meddle with our affairs. I don't know. I apologize for the abysmal accent that's going to be coming out of my mouth. And I'm supposed to wander by whistling while your thugs beat an innocent working woman barely a step above the Brambles herself?
Hugh's countenance darkened as his men shifted and muttered in anger. He stretched out one arm to the side in warning, and they quieted. I suppressed a sigh. Will may have been right, but that did nothing to calm the situation, and I thought I was poor at diplomacy.
That was not well done on them. They faced their punishment, but you owed us for shaming the Grey Wolves. And you intend to take it out of me in blood? You can try, but leave her out of this. Oh, that was cute.
He tossed his head to the side, pointing at me with his chin.
Oh, she'll be safe. You're to hand over to us. Do that and we'll only rough you up a little.
You want me, whatever for.
You hate the sheriff. You're not retrieving her for him. Oh, you hate the... See, now I'm fucking up accents. You hate the sheriff. You're not retrieving her for him. I know we're not. Our patron wants her for other purposes. Says he won't hurt her. She'll be right as rain. And you believe that?
Who is it? My mind was reeling. I couldn't think of anyone who would use this method to get a hold of me. My father could be an ass, but he would never work with men like this. Hugh merely chuckled.
You don't know how it doesn't work like that. Now you're gonna come with me all nice and polite?
I looked at Will. He looked at me.
And I looked at him.
No.
Hugh did not look shocked.
Right, boys, let's rough him up. Careful, the lady.
Hugh advanced along with his men. I felt my palms sweat as they pulled out their wicked long knives. Will stepped forward, swinging his sabers in a wide arc as a warning. Most of the gray wolves jumped backward. One unfortunate soul lost his knife, which went flying in a backward arc. There was angry yelling as the men in the back scrambled not to be hit.
Idiots.
Fuck it, let's ball. Let's fight. You don't have to do all the work, you know. I stepped assertively up next to Will.
All right, be my guest.
He swiveled
Date night.
He swiveled to the side a bit, giving me room to fend off my own attackers. They were approaching me with caution, knowing they weren't meant to hurt me. Not too much, at least. There were 3 men closing in on me and several behind them, waiting to pick up the slack if one of their own fellows were to fall. I held my sword at the ready, waiting for someone to take a swing at me. One man was brave enough to lunge forward. His form was awful. I swatted him aside with my shield. He hopped backward awkwardly.
Run it, she knows how to use that.
Correct. It's not decorative. I heard Will chuckle, but dared not look over to see how he was faring. The 3 men surrounding me looked at each other and nodded. They were about to do the intelligent thing and rush me at the same time.
Wait, to be fair, if he had time to chuckle, you know how he's doing.
As they dashed forward, I covered as much of myself with my shield as I could. I wasn't sure if I could fully parry the man closing in on my right side, however. I let out a battle cry as I swung my sword toward his approaching long knife. My sword swished harmlessly through the air, but I wasn't hit. My attacker's head was drawn again, and the man who had been about to attack me had blood streaming from his temple. I definitely hadn't hit him. What was going on? I was certain I wasn't the cause of that injury, and neither was Will. My answer came moments later as a hail of stones rained down onto the gray wolves who erupted into chaos.
I have a feeling it's the rest of the village. Like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? These guys literally
it's either
just
the
fed
brambles or it's Mesa. A voice called out from the rooftop.
Mesa. Oh, maybe not. Oi, you nodcocks! The blade and his woman are protected by the magpie, didn't you know?
As nobody else was an immediate threat to me, I dared to look up. Familiar figures lined the rooftops armed with slings. How many rocks had Will's squad carted up there?
Oi, she's her own woman, not mine.
Will called back with a grin, then turned to me.
Let's get out of this. Aw, that's cute. Couple goals.
Covered by the area assault, we advanced side by side.
Honey, you want to fend off an ambush together later?
Sure.
We cut a swath through the gray wolf lines, with Will with his saber hurricane and me with my sword and trusty shield.
Just who are we going to get to ambush us is the
I
question.
don't know.
It felt good standing by his side. Well, if you come to my house, there's plenty of deer. You can get ambushed by deer. As we fled together, I realized that despite his acerbic nature, Will had been supporting me in his own way. He'd accepted my efforts to train, even if I didn't always obey his prohibition against complaining. He'd gradually stopped treating me as an impediment and started treating me as more of an equal. And perhaps more importantly, he'd supported my freedom to make my own choices, even in the face of our forced partnership. Perhaps we were always getting into one scrape or another, but with Will, it was always actually fun. As we broke free of the Grey Wolf assault, racing through the back streets away from the brambles, a friendly figure jogged up beside us. It was Edith, Will's lieutenant.
Meet me at the inn. I've got news. Aye, see you there.
Her message delivered, Edith sank into the shadows once more. Behind us, I heard the steps of an enemy chasing us, a yelp of pain, and then no further pursuit. Thank goodness for Will's magpies.
I think I saw the man who hired the Grey Wolves to kidnap your ladyship. Everyone's like, so you're married? No, we hate each other.
We were
okay, yeah, sure.
We were gathered around a table in the abandoned inn that served as a safe house for the Magpies gang in the rebellion. You did? I'm terribly curious to know who it is.
He was the right fancy toff, pretty blonde hair, stood like a man what knows his blades. I thought it awful strange that he was in the brambles and the wolves hadn't chased him out.
Will and I looked at each other. A fancy gentleman with pretty blonde hair and a martial posture. The Chevalier.
I like to think that they both looked at each other. The Chevalier.
Sounds like him. But what would he want with me? I'd think he'd have more interest in arresting Will, unless he's working with Lord Joffrey to retrieve me unbeknownst to the wolves.
Oh, he was definitely looking at you, Lady Marion. Almost like a man possessed.
Oh, how very odd. Girl, it ain't odd. He wants your ass.
I mean, what?
I thought about the moment I sensed a familiar face in the crowd at the inn. Could that have been Sir Guy as well? Guy, what do you want, my dude?
You want that bouteille?
Oh, this guy.
Arthur's Asmar. We've got Joffrey indenturing our citizens, a druidic conspiracy, and now you're being stalked by a kingsman.
He looked at me. He should have been annoyed or frightened, but instead there was a spark of excitement in his eyes. The nutter. Edith gasped.
That toff was a kingsman?
She went white, a proper reaction to being a petty thief who had been in the company of one of the most powerful lawmen in the kingdom.
In the kingdom.
Awkward. In the kingdom. Oh yes, we have a kingdom in this town. I forgot that you're not part of the Magpies Inner Circle. I really ought to rectify that. In my estimation, you're one of the best, or one of our best.
This mollified the woman, who gave Will a snaggletooth smile.
Thank you kindly. I'm just doing my job. You know, Otome Magpie told us to keep a careful watch over the lady.
He did?
Of course. You're working with our Will, and he's the Magpie's favorite. Don't you go listen to the rumors now, Edie.
There was a brotherly fondness in his tone, and Edith grinned at him in response. I truly enjoyed seeing Will not as a cynical swordsman or artificially charming gentleman, but as simply himself. I could see why his friends in the Magpies gang liked him so much. I could see why I was starting to like him rather a lot as well. Several days later, we crouched outside the walls of Nottingham's Temple of Light. How angry is your brother going to be about this excursion?
Not angry at all if he never learns of it. You said you were in.
He's gonna learn of it, you fucking doofus!
He's probably waiting at that tree over there in the background.
Yeah, he's like...
I would really be nice if there was like a big silhouette that's obviously John just in the background.
Yeah, I am. It just doesn't feel good hiding things from the rest of the rebellion.
Wouldn't have to if they trusted me. Believe me.
I gave his arm a sympathetic squeeze.
That's not his arm.
I understand, shall we?
Will just gives a little ooh.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Climbing the temple walls was a far easier task than scaling Lord Joffrey's fort had been. Our main
That's scaling Lord Joffrey.
Hey!
We still got a couple of years till that route comes out.
A couple of years?
Couple of years. John's route is being written right now, and it's the third route. Our main worry wasn't access, but discovery once we were within the temple walls.
I imagine that's a thick route.
Yeah, that's a thick route. At the heart of the Temple of Light was a huge courtyard full of greenery. We snuck in from a side passage, and I was glad to see that there were plenty of hedges to hide in.
Good, because you want to hedge your
suspicious
bets.
bushes.
Is that wainscoting I see? Please check out the rest of our Otome O'Clock videos. You'll understand all the jokes.
Yeah. Especially Save the Villainous, which is where all the just goofiest shit happens.
Oh, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
My job was to conceal myself and eavesdrop on the druids in the courtyard while Will explored the temple looking for any sign of the pattern that had been carved on the druid stone. The courtyard was still lively for this time of night, with druids gathered around white birch tables, drinking and chatting. I chose a spot near enough to overhear them, but far enough that I was unlikely to be spotted. Will gave me an approving nod and slunk off on his own mission.
You slunk?
I slinked.
I soon learned that
Slink, slank, slunk?
I soon learned that the druids, when free of their ceremonial duties, were travelers just like any other group of people. I heard a great deal of gossip about people I didn't know, but nothing of particular interest for some time. Finally, the conversation amongst one group near my hiding place got my attention.
Nasty business, that. Poor druid Sinwig. You never liked him. Aye, but nobody deserves to go out like that, chewed up by some rabid beast.
They were speaking of the druid that Sir Morris had found dead in the woods. I certainly hoped that was the case, because more than one deceased druid spoke to a disturbing pattern.
I heard it was the Shadow Wolves that got him, and you know who that can be. Not him, that Stenish bastard left Shadow years ago. He wouldn't be lurking around here if he knows what's good for him. Well, who else could have had an entire pack of Shadow Wolves at his beck and call? It's unnatural, I tell you. Do you think he removed his bracer? He'd be dead then. The Fae would never abide a pact breaker.
The conversation veered into some other topic, but my head was spinning. I remembered what John had said not long ago.
Of course he doesn't know what's good for him. Have you
Brother,
seen
he
what eats
saved
for
Robin.
breakfast?
He saved Robin. He kept us hidden. His doves and wolves had rescued us from capture many times.
They couldn't be speaking of anyone but Leighton. He was Stenish. He'd once served in Nottingham's Temple of Shadow, and he commanded Shadow Wolves. I'd never seen them, but John wouldn't lie. Had Leighton murdered a man and left his body in the woods? If so, it was beyond the pale, even for a long-lost group like the Rebellion. Do not seek justice. You need to learn the truth. I took a few deep breaths, as quietly as I could, forcing myself to calm down. It was only gossip I'd heard. The druid could have been killed by a lost fae. There hadn't been any more as fearsome as the troll or kelpie, but the rebellion had still heard of an unusual number of smaller lost fae sighted in Sherwood. But more importantly, if Leighton had killed the man, why would he have left that carved stone upon his person for Sir Morris to find? Leighton had been very insistent in keeping the thing out of our hands.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Save? That'd be a very good idea. But secure in my logic, I decided to pursue the matter at a later date. Oh, they're going to sleepy times. I heard nothing more of interest watching the druids slowly drift off as the night wore on. Eventually, I was eavesdropping on an empty courtyard. I started to pinch the skin on my wrist in order to keep from falling asleep. Where was Will? That question was answered when he tore into the courtyard full tilt. Apparently the time for stealth was over. God damn it, Will! I ran to meet him. He slowed just a touch so that I could keep up. Shouts and the sounds of people running echo through the building. Good job, Will.
Time to go.
Yeah, Will's always been a
Really?
good
I'd
coach.
never guessed. Did you find anything?
No.
We sped through the temple halls and reached the wall we'd climbed to get in. Will leapt atop and held a hand down to me. I took it, feeling a rush as he hauled me up and over. We left the city the same way we'd come in, using a long-neglected gate that was hidden in a dark corner of a park near the temple. It appeared to be covered in blackberry brambles, but there was a hidden trail that allowed the Magpie's gang to use it with minimal scratches. Also, in the demo, this is how you get to Mesa's house.
Oh.
We summoned Kroga and Mercator, who no longer groused at each other when they met. Oh.
Oh. I wonder why.
It was a long trip back to the Rebellion encampment, as our exit on the north side of Nottingham meant our stags had to circle around the woods that surrounded most of the town before re-entering Sherwood proper. I was quite wary when we rode into camp and was not at all in the mood for what happened next.
Oh boy.
John's gonna be so pissed. Ooh, he's got the angry face on. It was early morning, and Will and I had just brushed down our stags. John was standing in the middle of camp when we arrived. By the look on his face, it would have been a very bad idea to ignore his presence.
It's like sneaking back into the house after you've been out all night and you're
Walk
Yeah.
of shame.
Fascinating. I was unaware that you two of you had a mission last night.
His voice was calm. Too calm.
We didn't. Will.
Will simply stood facing off against his brother, arms crossed.
Marion, do you care to tell me where you've been?
John's face was a mask of disapproval. In that moment, I saw my father in him, making me feel useless and small. I felt like no matter how I justified what we'd done, it wouldn't be enough. Best to be honest and get our punishment over with. We infiltrated the Temple of Light.
Marion?
John held up a forestalling finger at his brother, who slammed his mouth shut so hard I wondered if his jaw would pop.
And what were you doing there?
I gazed at the ground as I answered him, feeling ashamed. We were looking for information that connected the Druids with the keystone we found with the Indentured Servitude program.
And you know your actions weren't sanctioned by the rebellion?
I did.
That is disappointing. I'm sorry that my brother dragged you into his mess.
Will gave me a disgusted look.
Now you've done pissed off everybody. So much for your promises. Your loyalty only lasts up until you get a vague glare from my brother. Is that it?
I looked helplessly at him. I told him I didn't want to lie to others. I was still loyal to him and still believed in what we'd done. I was about to say so when a new voice broke into the conversation.
I'm glad to hear it wasn't sanctioned. We have an agreement to leave the Druids to me, do
Friar
we not?
fuckboy's here.
Those two kids are in so much trouble.
Leighton and Robin strolled into the clearing. I noticed some of the rank and file rebellion
Oh, hey there, Friar. Tucks it
members
back.
huddling just outside of the middle of the camp, watching the scene with cautious curiosity. Oh, we are in so much fucking trouble.
Adam called the friar tucks it back.
Sorry. Almost
I
killed
had to
Megan.
repeat it because I knew that would almost kill Megan.
Perhaps we ought to take this elsewhere.
My thoughts exactly, my lady. In the prison cell.
Will and I were practically dragged into John's cabin, Will shooting me angry looks the entire way. Still, I stood at his side, backed up against the cabin wall as three older men faced us down. Each of them was intimidating in his own way, even Robin. Oh god, you've made Robin intimidating!
Oh no. We told you to drop it, Will, for your own good. How did you even know what happened before you so easily talked my supposed partner into betraying us?
Oh, he was furious. Well, I was angry too. I just hadn't quite decided at whom I was angry yet.
Because I knew you wouldn't drop things after you found the keystone, so I was watching you. By the by, do you know how difficult and time-consuming it is for me to possess a nightingale? I have no bond with the species, and then there's that cursed desire to warble constantly. It's a real headache. I'm so very sorry to have put you out. Eye roll. Will, please, could you not have spoken to us before enacting such a foolish plan? What's the point? You lot think everything I do is foolish. You'd rather believe this puffed-up charlatan than your own flesh and blood. You know that's not true, and I'm most concerned that you put Lady Marion in danger. Yes, because Lady Marion is perfect. Why don't you just have her take my place? You certainly seem to prefer her. Don't be foolish, lad.
Will cut Robin off, pounding a fist against the wall.
Bloody rot, I'm done with this. Enjoy the company of my esteemed family, milady. If you toady up to them enough, I'm sure they'll decide you're a better candidate to lead this rebellion. You'll have to recruit your own squad, though. The Magpies gang are loyal to me. At least somebody is.
He stormed out of the cabin, slamming the door behind him again.
Awkward. So, guys, how's it going?
This time I didn't follow him immediately. My anger at everyone in the room had bubbled over. And first I had some things to say to the men who remained. Ooh, do we? Oh, let's be snarky.
Get that kitty out. Meow.
Well, you all certainly handled him with care and delicacy. But first, Druid Layton, would you kindly tell why Nottingham's druids believe that you murdered one of their fellows?
They do? Bloody bracken.
Were you too busy spying on us to hear that? They believe your wolves attacked him.
Gad, it was likely a lost beast, Faye. You might not trust me, Dove, and I won't ask you to. But can you trust that I operate with more subtlety than that?
That I will give him. In all honesty, I'd already realized that if he'd been behind the killing, he would never have left the keystone behind. Probably.
I'll have to move my plan forward.
He mumbled to himself, moving toward the door.
Can you not tell us anything of this plan of yours?
Layton stopped inside, lapsing into a stronger version of his accent.
I cannot keep your brother away from the druid, you can.
Oof.
We'll do what we can.
Oof. Ashlee.
I don't know what I'm fucking doing over here. I'm just a stupid American trying to make this fucking word salad sound like something.
Old-timey.
I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't even know what happened just then.
The druid collected
I
himself.
fucking just like, then it happened.
The druid collected himself, his hand on the doorknob.
I know, I'm a right ass, but the stakes here are higher than you can imagine. Trust me, please.
Oh, no, you're not a right ass. You're a whole ass.
He left. I turned to the two rebellion leaders, my ire reigniting. So enlighten me as to how you intend to keep Will safe now that you've thoroughly driven him away. Chains? Oh wait, he can escape those. John looked unimpressed with my wit because he has to deal with it from his fucking brother.
Honestly, Marion, I thought you were sweeter natured than this.
Bitch!
You don't even fucking know me.
Then you don't know me as well as your brother does. I can be quite the harridan when incensed.
Oh, fucking vocab words. Hey.
And yet you remain as lovely.
Excuse me, bitch. Excuse me, bitch. And yet you remain as lovely as a rose. Fucking button it up, Robin. I'm not in the mood for your shit.
I scowled at Robin, even though I knew he knew nothing about my dislike of roses.
Is it possible you could convince Will to abandon his quest? Surely assisting the indentured who wish to escape is enough.
He believes the druids have a more sinister plan that extends beyond Lord Joffrey's indentureship program. And no, I will not do your dirty work for you.
You will allow Will to put himself in more danger?
I will stand by his side and do my best to assist him as his partner, if I can convince him I haven't betrayed him. I expected Robin to berate me further, but instead he chuckled and turned to John.
Well, old pal, it seems our plan has backfired. Your brother is more persuasive than you thought.
John sighed heavily.
You know I'm only trying to help him.
The large man looked vulnerable, and I decided to take pity on him. I know, but you have such an overbearing way of doing so. He believes you think quite poorly of him.
See, it's not just me. Will you listen to my lady's wisdom? I should back down, I know. I just wish he wasn't so reckless.
I will not gainsay him, but I will do my best to mitigate the peril.
He's a reckless recluse.
You know, as he's as smart as he is swift. He's begun to go along with my plans if they are well considered. And that's the best you two are getting out of me. The man looked suitably chagrined, so I gave him a sweet smile and moved toward the door. And now I believe it is time for me to retire. He is
From espionage?
I wanted to make amends with Will as soon as possible, but I knew I would be in better shape after a good sleep. I tossed and turned for a bit, but once I fell asleep, I didn't awaken until full darkness. I knocked on Will's door, but there was no response. That wasn't unusual. He rarely spent time in his cabin when he was awake. Knowing that searching the valley at night was useless, I decided to wander over to the practice fields. Once more, I spread a blanket out on the grass. I sat and gazed at the awe-inspiring starscape.
That was fucking stellar, Megan. Excellent professionalism.
I turned away from my mic.
And it picked up
Not
every
enough.
single note.
I would like you to know
The
every
frog
time
that erupted from your diaphragm.
I didn't open my mouth, I turned away from my microphone.
Yeah.
Once more, I spread a blanket out on the grass. I sat and gazed at the awe-inspiring starscape, anxious thoughts swirling through my head. How was I to make up with Will? It had been so difficult to win his grudging respect to begin with. Just be honest with him, you doofus!
Sorry, Automod is being mean to Willow, and I'm trying to fix it, and it's like, no, no.
When I heard a soft
Why
footfall
do we even have that? I don't think it's ever actually censored something we didn't want not to be censored.
I don't know, but Megan, continue.
When I heard a soft footfall behind me, I forced myself not to look back. A blanket was spread out next to mine. I caught the whiff of citrus on the breeze. I glanced ever so slightly to the side and saw long, leather-clad legs stretching out next to me. I directed my gaze back at the stars. We sat in uncomfortable silence for some time. I felt like a coward, wanting him to speak first. I knew it needed to be me. I had to apologize. I finally turned my head toward him. His moonlit face had a surprising lack of hostility. Will.
Marion.
I knew it! I knew they were going to talk at the same time. Oh, these little fucking goobers. Oh, then they're going to be quiet at the same time. Then they're going to try to talk at the same time.
I'm sorry. Just skipped over your fucking...
Yeah, and that's good that the line was, I'm sorry, because you skipped over my line. Okay, hit the button. Wait, he was sorry. You are?
Everybody's sorry.
He grimaced, but I had the feeling he was making that face more at himself than he was at me.
Do you know why I was so angry when you joined the rebellion?
Because I forced you to take me as your partner even when you didn't want it?
That was just an excuse. I was jealous.
Jealous of me? He spoke haltingly. This is obviously difficult for him.
Robin and John, they're heroes. Leaders. I shouldn't be in line for Loxley after Robin. It should be John. Not that he's not blood related.
Most people forget I'm even in this story.
I told you I've always been different. Rebellion is as important to me as it is to them, but that doesn't mean I have to be like them, does it?
Baby, you're their spy master.
Maybe we're all in shadow right now, but they still walk in the light in most things. I'm not comfortable there. I like shadow.
And that can be your job. You can be the next magpie, my beautiful doofus.
The magpie believed in me like they never did. Helped me own my skills. He's not entirely pleased with my love of danger, but he doesn't try to stop me. My brother and cousin are never happy with my choices. John hates that my squad comes from the Magpies gang, but what would I do with a bunch of soldiers? I was doing my best and being yelled at no matter what I did. Then you came along. You were smart, gorgeous, and spirited, but not too contrary. They liked you from the start. I know they both wanted you to pick them. So when you chose me instead, they decided to make you into a tool to bring me into line. Maybe even with an eye to replacing me. I don't know. I was angry and jealous, and I turned it on you. You didn't do anything wrong. I knew it, but I was being a stubborn ass. And today I never gave you a chance. You stood up for me before, and I bet you did again.
I put a hand on his arm and squeezed gently. I'm sorry I broke so easily when John questioned me. He reminded me too much of my father. Did you just skip a line?
No.
Line.
After you left, I told him I wouldn't be their tool. I may not agree with every choice you make, but I decided to be your partner, and I'm glad.
I'm gonna roll back the table. Nope, I didn't.
Okay.
I was a good clicker.
For once.
Oh, you bitch.
I know how it feels when people around you want you to be something you're not. But you don't make me feel that way. We might argue, but I don't think you want to change me.
I don't. You're a right nuisance, but so am I. Suppose that makes us even.
I laughed. I've always agreed that freedom is important, and I'm starting to understand why it's important for everyone.
Strong words from an avowed noble. How much freedom would you give the common folk? The serfs?
I've been thinking of that since the night we freed that indentured merchant. Must my place be to dictate the freedoms of others from on high?
You're not determined to take your place in the nobility?
Will stiffened. I was confused. I thought he'd be pleased. I'm not sure yet. I'm obviously not going to be Lady Nottingham now. I presume my prospective husband considers me a criminal since his guard saw me robbing the tax shipments.
He doesn't deserve you anyway.
Oh, I'd call you William, but I know that's not your full name. Oh, and who does? Will flopped backward onto the grass.
With an ooh. Suppose it's up to you now. We'll unseat Lord Joffrey. You'll be rewarded. My cousin will give you whatever you ask of him. He's annoying, but he's good as his word.
I joined him, lying on my back with my hands clasped under my head. The stars swirled above us like infinite possibility. We lay in companionable silence for a while. My thoughts turned to Will's troubled relationship with his family. You know, I don't believe Robin and John think poorly of you. I think maybe they're just having trouble remembering you're not a child anymore.
When they left for the war, they said they'd send for me when I was old enough to join. They never did.
I'm glad you didn't get killed in the war, Will. We lost so many. He sighed.
That's what Robin said. And how can I gainsay him? His father died.
Which is probably why he didn't call for you. He watched his friends and his dad die. Maybe he didn't want to lose you as well.
I know.
He was quiet for a moment.
I guess I want my brother to be my brother. I want Robin to be my cousin. He used to get in so much more trouble than I did. Now it's like I have two fathers, but they're not my father. I had a father. I'm holding on to the memory of his face for dear life, but it's getting harder and harder. I don't know.
I looked over at him. I wanted to hug him, but I wasn't sure how well he'd take it. Instead, I reached over and grasped his hand.
That's not his hand.
He started, but I held on. His fingers slowly curled around mine. It felt nice.
Those aren't fingers.
What the fuck? What eldritch creature is he housing between his legs? Is that the cuttlefish of Cthulhu? That's a reference to Guar.
We lay like that for a while, a feeling of warmth growing between us until I put my words in order.
It's called a dick.
I promise I won't ever try to be your parent. I want to be your partner. I don't want you to do what I tell you to do. I want us to support each other or argue until we come to the best choice for what to do next.
I think I'd like that, Mar. Actually... Oi, boss! And my lady!
Yes! They got interrupted. I was
Yes,
hoping.
cockblock! Yes!
Booted footsteps ran towards us. We
Wait,
sat up.
No, cockblock, no!
Our hands snapping apart as though we'd been caught doing something unseemly. Alfric, one of Will's squad members, approached. He was breathing hard.
About time I found you two. Message from the magpie. Go ahead, if it's something she can hear. Aye, 'tis. The magpie says he wants to meet with you, and with Lady Marion too.
I think that's a great place to stop. Especially since it's chapter 3.
Will, the Scarlet
right on
Blade,
time.
chapter 3, The Fallen!
Yes. We also need to save. But we can do that after we end stream. This has been stream.
Yes,
We have been host.
This is not how we do things.
This has been stream. I have been host.
Thank you. Come again.
And we're done. Credits.
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
All right, so what else do we have coming up this week? Adam, do you remember?
Do I remember what we have coming up this week? Today is Tuesday. So Thursday would be Balls Deep in Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Should we call it Balls Deep in Baldur's Gate?
Yes.
Fucking hell.
That's
I've
what you
been
have to
doing
call
that
it
the
now.
whole time. Have you not noticed? Anyway.
You say a lot of things. That I'm just gonna stop right there because I love you.
And then Friday would be the mega stream with that other guy. I don't know. The guy who's not me. And I'm kidding. With Ethan. Nickname pending. And then Saturday would be Survival Game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we're currently in POW World.
Yes.
And the next Thursday is, next Tuesday is whatever.
No,
indie game
it's
you're
every
playing.
other week. So
Is
not
whatever-
next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after.
Well, next Tuesday would be whatever indie game Ashlee is playing, and then the Tuesday after that is this again.
Yes.
I'm probably gonna attempt to continue playing Deus Ex, the original.
Well, not really an indie game, but I guess we've gone from indie to retro.
Indie retro game. Something stream happens on Tuesdays.
And then
turn in 3 weeks when Ashlee manages to find a retro indie game.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. Also, stay tuned because we are looking to restart a tabletop streams
Yes,
on
any
Geeked
minute
Out.
now. Whenever we get the call from Roll With Us GMs,
Yes.
who
Antonio
apparently have been posting videos
well,
of
yeah,
them
they will-
playing with other people. This
I
whole
think
time.
Adam's starting to sound a little jelly.
I don't know
little
what you're
jelly.
talking about.
Not at all. All right, Megan, where can people find you on the internet?
I have an account on Instagram that's Mega-han Otome, Mega_han_Otome. I haven't really posted anything there because I was waiting for new computer parts to come in, which they did for Christmas. And now I have new computer parts.
Yay for Nukem Pooper. Yeah, that's like been us and shit.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And in 2 weeks, we'll be playing Will the Scarlet Blade, Chapter 3 and possibly 4. I don't know how many
I don't know what my
chapters.
numbering convention is for this because this is going to be labeled as part 4. I don't know why. I guess I'm including the demo as episode 1.
Yeah.
So yeah. This is us leaving now, I guess. I have been Ashlee A. Button.
I've been Adam in the back.
And I have been Mega-han.
We are
Otome O'clock.
Oh.
Aww. Alright, this is where I click buttons and make us leave.
Bye-bye.
Bye.